high school sports.
A winning part of a complete education.
This message presented by the Iowa High School Athletic Association and the Iowa High School Athletic Directors Association.
This is Trooper Tracy Teague from the Iowa State Patrol with a safety message. About half of the traffic fatalities in Iowa are the result of speeding or aggressive driving. Please drive the speed limit and reduce your speed when the road conditions are snow or ice covered, or when there's reduced visibility, and always use your headlights. Last year, about 40% of Iowa fatality victims were not wearing their seatbelt. Please take 3 seconds and buckle your seatbelt whether you're in town or out on the highways. It could save your life. This message is brought to you by the Iowa State Patrol and this station.
I got a squeeze box. It's The Who. I didn't know what that was when I first played this song. Here's Jenny in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'm glad you waited, and welcome to the EIB Network. Hello.
Hey, Rush. Really, I just wanted to talk to you about the comment about grabbing that Trump made and why women are not particularly bothered by it. And the reason is because Trump said some women, and we all as women know who those women are. We've met them. We've got relatives that are like them. We have got friends that are like them. They're only interested in the richest man in the room, and they will throw themselves at them. And we've seen it. We weren't offended because Trump wasn't talking about us. He was talking about some women. And every rich man I know knows who those women are. And they've seen them and they've experienced
them. Okay, so you're talking about the Access Hollywood video. He comes out of the trailer talking to Billy Bush, and he's talking about being a star and the kind of women that are attracted to big famous stars and what he has found that those women will tolerate and let you do.
Yes.
And so you're saying that other women who are not those, they understand this full-fledged. They didn't think Trump was talking about all women or them. Is that right?
No, absolutely. I never took offense to it one moment because I've worked in bars. I've seen famous football players. I've seen women walk up to them and grab their hands and place them in places that I'd never do. I never thought for 1 minute Trump was talking about me. I was thinking, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. We all do. All women know who those women are, and we steer clear of them. And so why would it offend us when we knew he wasn't talking about us?
Okay, now but some women were, and virtually every Democrat woman was, and virtually every kowtowed Democrat man was. They were they were all appalled by it.
Were they? Or were they just playing? Yeah, the Democrats they're offended by everything. Everything. I mean, you know, if you say the word infested, they're offended by it. If you say the word kitchen table, they're offended by it. So, you know, the fact that they're offended really makes no difference.
Okay, so using your theory, when Trump talks about rat-infested Baltimore, there are people that know that there are rat-infested places, and so he's right.
Exactly. No, I mean, I don't know anyone that would hear the word infested and think of black or brown people other than racist.
Exactly.
The Democrats.
Exactly. They are the racists. They're the ones that hear and see everything through the prism of skin color. They're the surface people. That's exactly right. When you hear the word infested in this and you immediately think racist, you're the racist. That is so right. That is so right on the money.
Thank you.
How did somebody with a British accent end up in Bentonville, Arkansas?
I actually came over here 13 years ago, and I was a liberal, and I was driving on a different side of the road with a different car without gears, and the only radio station I could get was yours. And I had no idea who you were, had no preconceived ideas, and I just thought, who the heck is this guy? And you just said it like it is, and I really enjoyed you, and you turned me around.
Obviously sensible, obviously mature, obviously. So happy to have a woman like you, and there are many of you in this audience. I cannot tell you, because you're brimming with common sense, and you think, and you're not programmed to be constantly enraged and angry. I love it. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Jenny. I got to run because I'm out of time. Back in a moment.
Rush Limbaugh, making radio great again. You're listening to the EIB Network.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy?
come to Dynovite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynovite.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops, get the 3rd bottle free.
New improved Lico Chops with omega-3, omega-6, vitamin E.
And now, 6 extra direct-fed microbials.
Even better for the digestive tract and immune system.
Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynovite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. In just days, Publishers Clearinghouse will award $5,000 a week for life. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. This prize is guaranteed to be awarded on August 30th, so don't miss your last chance to win. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Award day is almost here. August 30th, you could win $5,000 a week for life. Go to PCH.com now. Entries due 8/27. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Everyone knows that even good people fall on hard times. Your credit cards get maxed out and you get behind on your taxes. Unfortunately, the IRS is not as understanding, and they won't stop until they collect. They have the power to take your paycheck, freeze your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk. It's simply not worth it to take on the IRS by yourself. You need to call the experts at Optima Tax Relief. When you call, be sure to ask about the Fresh Start Initiative. It's a special IRS tax debt assistance program that could save you thousands, even tens of thousands. Optima will immediately provide you with a team of professionals who could protect you from the IRS, ensuring that you get the best possible outcome. The Better Business Bureau has awarded them an A+ rating, and you will too. So put the hard times behind you and call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
At Menards, nobody beats our prices and selection, so you always save big money on home improvement. Ideal garage doors feature a limited lifetime warranty. A 9x7 traditional series garage door features a pre-finished white steel raised panel exterior with an insulated back panel. Just $299.99. A 16x7 model is $519.99. Sale prices are good through Saturday, August 3rd. Now, during Menards Red Hot Sale.
Save big money at Menards.
America's veterans are more than a source of pride. They're a source of strength. When our veterans thrive, our communities thrive. With your support, our veterans can get career and education opportunities as well as benefits they've earned.
Hello, I'm Congressman Steve King. Join me in thanking our nation's veterans. They've given so much. Find out how you can support veterans in our community.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
American approval of big tech companies has plummeted. We'll have that and much more. We get back together in 21 hours. Rather long break, but stay with us. We'll be back tomorrow.
Ernie's Harley-Davidson, Cactus Family Farms, and Alpha Media present our Hogs for Heroes Honor Ride Saturday, August 10th. Be at Fort Dodge Ford between 9 and 10:30 to register. Then it's kickstands up for 150 miles of wide-open fun on the road. Our Hogs for Heroes stops include the Co-op Bar and Grill in Pomeroy, River Valley Orchards in Humboldt, Johnny's Bar and Grill in Wesley, the Blue Moose Saloon in Renwick, Ernie's Harley-Davidson in Algona, and Miller's Landing in Humboldt, where you can listen to live music, eat great food, and bid on your favorite items in the silent auction. Entry fee is just $15 a rider or $25 a couple. All proceeds go to the Brushy Creek Honor Flight. Get a free Hogs for Heroes t-shirt while supplies last. Pre-register until August 8th at yourfortdodge.com to reserve your spot and t-shirt. This special event is sponsored in part by the Western Edge in Humboldt, Iowa Outdoor Store, Hardware and Rental, Fort Dodge, Riddle's Jewelry, Fort Dodge, and Zinnel Roofing, Humboldt. Fire up your bike, your car, your truck, even your minivan for the Hogs for Heroes Honor Ride, hosted by Ernie's Harley-Davidson, Cactus Family Farms, and Alpha Media. We ride so they can fly.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A deadly weekend in Wisconsin. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Authorities in Chippewa County say a man killed 4 people before taking his own life. Fox's Jeff Manasso has more live.
Steve, Chippewa County Sheriff James Kowalczyk says 33-year-old Richie German Jr., described as an often unemployed and troubled loner, shot and killed his mother, his brother, and his brother's 8-year-old son at their Lafayette home, likely on Saturday. Then on Sunday night, he went to a home in nearby Lake Hallie.
Was armed with a shotgun. He discharged a round through the door and entered the building,
killing 24-year-old Laylee Vang, who apparently didn't know Richie, and wounding her parents before taking his own life. At this point, Steve, police say they don't have a motive.
Thanks, Jeff. President Trump keeping up his criticism of Congressman Elijah Cummings and the city he represents.
He's in charge of an oversight committee. All I'm saying is take your oversight committee and go to Baltimore. You'll learn a lot.
The president earlier saying money allocated for Baltimore has been mismanaged, stolen, or gone missing.
No one in law enforcement has suggested that any federal dollars earmarked for Baltimore have been stolen. Baltimore's poverty rate is over 22%, nearly twice the national average.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. Capital One sued for a data breach affecting more than 100 million customers.
That's on top of a breach investigation announced today by New York Attorney General Letitia James. It comes a day after news of the breach that compromised about 140,000 Social Security numbers and 80,000 bank account numbers. An arrest has been made in connection to the hacking, and a hearing is set for Thursday in Seattle for Paige A. Thompson, who is charged with a single count of computer fraud and abuse.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Cap One stock taking a big hit today, shares down about 7%. This is Fox News.
When the sand gets hot, you gotta move fast, like a dog chasing a frisbee. Move just as fast to the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Because for the first time ever, you can get 20% estimated savings on select Ford vehicles. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Don't let this hot deal on America's best-selling brand pass you by. Get into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Based on 2010 through 2018 calendar year sales. Modem must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
Authorities in California are learning more about the 19-year-old accused of fatally shooting 3 people and wounding 12 others at a garlic festival.
Police say they've served search warrants on the suspect's car and a home associated with him in the city of Gilroy. One of the members of the band who was performing at the festival just before the shooting says he asked the shooter, "Why are you doing this?" He said because he was really angry. He'd recently posted on social media about a book published in 1890 that advocates social Darwinism and racist ideologies. The suspect had graduated from Gilroy High School. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A Walmart employee in Mississippi accused of killing 2 coworkers at their store and wounding a police officer before cops shot and arrested him.
It was a disgruntled employee. You know, it's someone that had a personal grievance with his employer.
South Haven Mayor Darren Russell White.
You know, no city in America is immune to this. Unfortunately, it's sad. But it just shows how important the training is, and the training that we did paid off today.
According to local news reports, the suspect was suspended yesterday for pulling a knife on a customer. An American rapper goes on trial in Sweden for assault.
A$AP Rocky's lawyer telling a court in Stockholm that his client pleads not guilty to a charge of assault. The lawyer saying the rapper, real name Rakim Myers, acted in self-defense in a street brawl in the Swedish capital last month. Prosecutors telling the court Myers threw a man to the ground before the artist and 2 other men kicked and punched him.
Fox's Simon Owen. President Trump unsuccessfully lobbied Sweden's prime minister to intervene. Team USA soccer coach Jill Ellis reportedly planning to step down after leading her players to a 2nd straight Women's World Cup title. Her contract was set to expire after the tournament, but had an option to extend it through the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Ellis will remain with the team for their victory tour, which kicks off Saturday. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KWMT News Update, I'm Rob Jones. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. Authorities say a northeast Iowa farmer was killed by an 1,800-pound bull this weekend. Radio Iowa's Darren Svensson reports.
A Harpers Ferry man was killed Sunday when he was attacked by a bull. Alamakee County Sheriff Clark Mellick says 59-year-old John Conway died of injuries in the attack, which occurred in a wooded pasture area near Harpers Ferry. Authorities say the bull was disposed of due to its extremely aggressive behavior. The incident remains under investigation. I'm Darren Swenson for Radio Iowa.
After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation July the 12th as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing pursuant to Iowa codes. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office or visit iowaworks.gov. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation has been called in to help investigate a shooting involving an Iowa City police officer. Radio Iowa's Dar Danielson with more.
Iowa City Police say the officer responded to a shoplifting complaint from a business on the west side of town around 3:30 Monday and located a man nearby. The man fired a BB gun at the officer several times, and the officer returned fire and hit the man. The officer had injuries to his face and was taken to the hospital along with the shoplifting suspect. Both are reported in stable condition. Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson.
A teenager is facing multiple weapons charges here in Webster County. 17-year-old Marcus Roy Delp is being charged with trafficking stolen weapons, possession of a firearm or offensive weapon by a felon, and transferring a firearm to a person under 21. For KWMT from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon with a high into the upper 70s. Winds out of the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies, a low near 57. By Wednesday, increasing cloud cover, high around 78 degrees. Then by Thursday, partial sunshine develops, a high of 80. Friday, slight chance for showers and storms, a high of 80. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 74.
Before he became your business partner, before you gave him his first bonus, before you put him on the payroll, before he was an unpaid intern, you saved his resume in your Keepers folder. Staples has what your business needs to get you from here to there. And right now, Staples 2-pocket poly folders are just
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Janelle & Associates law firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is responsible for the content of this ad. Attention all active or retired military. If you are diagnosed with tinnitus or hearing loss after using yellow and black or yellow and olive dual-ended earplugs, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. These earplugs permitted damaging sounds to enter the ear canal. If you served in the military and were later diagnosed with hearing loss or tinnitus, call 800-614-4232 right now to see if you qualify for significant cash compensation. The manufacturer knew of the defect but did not warn its customers. Complaints allege that the manufacturer manipulated test results to make it appear that the plugs met government standards. If you deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan anytime from 2003 through 2015 and are now suffering from diagnosed hearing loss or tinnitus, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call 800-614-4232 right now. Hurry, time is limited. Call 800-614-4232 now to see if you qualify for cash compensation. Call 800-614-4232. That's 800-614-4232. 800-614-4232.
The following message has been paid for by the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship. If you sell fruit and vegetables commercially in Iowa, the FDA's produce safety rule likely affects you. To find out if you're in compliance and to learn about training classes and resources offered by the Iowa State University Food Safety Team, visit iowasafeproduce.com. The training team is coming to a town near you soon. Follow us on social media and visit iowasafeproduce.com for location updates. This message was supported by the FDA Grant 5810 and does not necessarily represent the official views of the FDA.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Well, if you can't handle the truth, you're in trouble here. Because I am the doctor of truth. My name is Michael Devine. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. Another beautiful day, and I got to tell you, we certainly deserve it. We had enough miserable days in February and March, so we certainly deserve this string of absolutely gorgeous days that we're having now. Steve Peterson of the Farm Bureau should be in a little bit later on to talk about a crop report, first of all, and project, hopefully, the yields that we can expect in the fall, because that's very important to our economy. Don't have to tell you that. I cannot believe MSNBC. I cannot believe MSNBC. And I can't believe, well, I can believe the thinking behind having Al Sharpton as a regular contributor on MSNBC. Al Sharpton, again, yesterday I watched Morning Joe for the first time in a long time, and I've got to watch all these news programs because I have to know some of the sick, hypocritical things that they're saying, especially on MSNBC. You know, they have carved out a big audience of liberal listeners who gobble up everything that they say and show them. I cannot believe these people criticize those who watch Fox News as somehow uncomprehending morons who believe everything that Fox News says. No, people who I personally do not watch Fox News. Oh, I tune it in for the same reason I tune in MSNBC, to see what they're saying. And that morning show on Fox News, by the way, is horrible. And I've never been a Sean Hannity fan. Let's get that out there. Tucker Carlson, like him, he's okay. But Sean, no, he's an embarrassment. Anyway, over the weekend, of course, President Trump cut loose with some vitriol directed at Representative Elijah Cumming of Baltimore. So Joe Scarborough, remember, Joe and Mika are a Me Too that worked. Somehow Scarborough got away with it. I guess if you're if it wouldn't have been for Al Franken, I would have said that Me Too movement only specifically can be directed at conservative men, although Harvey Weinstein was a huge contributor to the Democratic Party. But since Al Franken had to resign, I'm going to have to say that no, the Me Too movement has spread pretty wide. But Joe Scarborough
got away with one of the all-time Me Too's. I mean, when they started working together, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, they were married to other people. And what a surprise, after a couple of years of obviously really hot chemistry on air, they left their respective spouses and got married. But they're liberals. Anyway, the first impulse that Joe Scarborough had yesterday, and I might have talked about this a little bit yesterday, was to call up noted race specialist Al Sharpton to condemn Donald Trump's racist tweets, which, of course, he did. I want you to think about this again. Al Sharpton. Do you know Al Sharpton? I'll remind you. This is from thedailysurge.com.
From TV for all the racist stuff you said over the years?
What racist stuff? White folks was in the cave when we had built empires. We taught philosophy and astrology and mathematics before Socrates and them Greek homos ever got around. Yes. You want to be the only nigga on television, the only nigga in the newspaper, the only nigga can talk.
You know, when you refer to Jews as white interlopers,
Never referred to Jews as white.
when you drop
White interlopers, Reverend Al. White interlopers. That's who the Jews are. And of course, the Greeks, they're homos. I mean, I don't even talk that way in private. I can't deny I've ever used a derogatory expression toward homosexuals or black people or anybody else. I have in my youth, but I like to think that I grew out of it. Al Sharpton apparently hasn't. And he wants to talk about, I mean, this is who MSNBC, this is who the liberal media goes to as their authority on racist tweets by Donald Trump. Now, in case you forgot who I know, you're going to remember the Tana Brawley episode, which was completely false and put the country through hell for 6 months just so Al Sharpton could be a major television personality and a big deal in the civil rights movement. He was almost forgotten when MSNBC resurrected his career. Here, let me run this by you. This is from a few years ago from CBS This Morning, April 8th, 2014. There was a report that the Reverend Al was taping mafia figures.
Reverend Al Sharpton is denying reports that he was an FBI informant. Documents on the Smoking Gun website show that Sharpton recorded conversations with New York crime bosses during the 1980s. He reportedly was known as confidential informant number 7. But Sharpton says he was a victim. He says he called the FBI after he was threatened. Sharpton admitted recording some conversations, but said he was never told he was an informant.
He was never told he was an informant. He recorded conversations, but was never told he was an informant. Okay, I'll buy that. But this is my all-time favorite. Better than the deaths directly caused by Al Sharpton and his rabble-rousing. This is perhaps my favorite. This is from CNN, March 2nd, 2015. I've talked about this in the past. Al Sharpton and Comcast, one of the largest communications company in the world, Al Sharpton was sued along with Comcast for racial discrimination. Check this out.
He's a host on MSNBC and one of America's most prominent, outspoken civil rights activists. And now Al Sharpton, along with Comcast and Time Warner Cable, are facing a $20 billion lawsuit over alleged racial discrimination against Black-owned media companies. Now, in the complaint, Byron Allen, a comedian, TV presenter, and CEO of Entertainment Studios, alleges that Comcast gave Al Sharpton that 6 p.m. show on MSNBC, for which he's been paid approximately $750,000 per year, despite notoriously low ratings, and in exchange for his continued public support for Comcast on issues of diversity. Now, it all sounds kind of convoluted, and I want to get to the bottom of it. So joining me now in Los Angeles is Byron Allen. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
This case has been getting a lot of coverage this week. We've heard from Comcast, and I'll read their comment in a minute. But tell me the 1-minute version of what you're alleging.
Real simple. The cable industry, AT&T, DirecTV, Comcast, Time Warner, they spent about $50 billion a year licensing cable networks and advertising, with less than $3 million per year going to 100% African American owned media. Now, what they do is they make token donations to people like Al Sharpton, the NAACP, the Urban League, and after taking those donations, they negotiated a fraudulent MOU that says this is okay for Black people to live by. What America needs to understand is that Al Sharpton does not speak for me. Al Sharpton does not speak for Black people. It's like I ask people, who is the white person who speaks for you? It's racist to even believe that Al Sharpton is the go-to person. Shame on you, Sony, for thinking sit down with Al Sharpton and that negates your racist emails about President Obama. So it's real simple. These token donations they make to him, as reported in the New York Post, allows them to have racial cover. This is why we're not getting enough advertising or any advertising from McDonald's and Coca-Cola and Chrysler and General Motors and AT&T. They don't spend any money with African-American owned media. Something that's very alarming, AT&T spent more money on Al Sharpton's lavish 60th birthday than they spent on Ebony Magazine, the biggest African-American magazine in America, around 70 years, 10 million readers per month. AT&T spent only $30,000 on that magazine. Walmart has given money to Al Sharpton. Walmart doesn't spend any money in Ebony Magazine, and they barely do business with me in a long-term partnership. And I'm constantly going back and forth with Walmart and Chrysler as well. So he is the least expensive Negro. Don't really do business
Now,
with real African-American owned companies.
Something like that sound. I mean, when you say that about Al Sharpton, are you saying he's
The
shaking
numbers
down
are actual. The numbers are just follow the money. That, don't do business with real African-American owned companies. Just make a token. Give him $50,000 and a bucket of chicken, and we're good.
That's Byron Allen, by the way, who is he's a well-known African-American comedian who, to his considerable credit, started a broadcast company, a completely African-American owned and operated broadcast company. And he and several other Black broadcasters in the mid-Atlantic states sued Comcast and Al Sharpton for $20 million. And what these Black men were, or I should say Black people, were directly accusing Sharpton of was selling them out. But he's a great Black person for white liberals. He'll come on and accuse Trump of being a racist and all these other things. And boy, white liberals will eat that up. They love that stuff. Oh, yes, the Trump supporters are a bunch of pinheaded. I ran into it again the other day. Pinheaded Fox News watchers who just can't get over themselves and they're zombies and they vote for Trump. No, that's not the truth. The working class people who defeated liberals in Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Pennsylvania were frightened of liberals. They were disgusted of liberals because of what liberals had been doing to them since the time of Clinton. The Democratic Party, since the time of Clinton, is directly responsible for impoverishing private sector workers. Oh, they're really good to the public sector workers, but not a chance if you're in the private sector. As a matter of fact, let me say again, this is something you know, Walmart is the largest private sector employer in the world. In the world. That's right. They're going global. Walmart. God. Anyway, I had to get that out of my system. I've done it now. And I'm going to tell you that Steve Peterson of the Farm Bureau is on the way. This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Don't fertilize low-yielding areas. I am Nicole Heslop with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Remote sensing research is finding some areas of the field are constantly underproducing, and applying the recommended amount of nitrogen year after year hasn't made a difference. Michigan State University researcher Bruno Basso says it's time to put your money elsewhere. We'll have more about his work right after this.
Iowa farmers are continually striving to improve the quality of our land so future generations can continue farming these acres. And it starts by working together to incorporate more sustainable practices in our fields. The Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship works with farmers and landowners to implement proven conservation practices that protect water quality and improve soil health. Farmers can sign up now for funding to help offset the cost of trying a water quality focused conservation practice like cover crops. Apply now through your local soil and water conservation office.
Time. It's the eternal measure for growers everywhere, influencing the ebbs and flows of every season. Through it all, Nutrien Ag Solutions stands with you, offering agronomic power, local expertise, and access to solutions to help you lead the field. Because the time to act is right now. Find your local crop consultant at nutrienagsolutions.com.
Remote sensing is helping farmers reduce inputs and increase profits.
The Basel Lab has been trying to help them clarify, how this technology works and how they can make more informed decisions to use fertilizer more efficiently, so they can increase profitability and reduce losses to the environment.
Bruno Basso with Michigan State University tells Brownfield his remote sensing research has compiled images from more than 70 million corn acres in 10 Midwestern states to better understand nitrogen use.
You couldn't possibly walk everywhere in a field, so the use of imagery, it helps, first of all, scouting, locations within the field that they have different growing conditions, but the technology is now at a stage that is able to convert what an image detects into the amount of nitrogen that has already been used by the plant. Knowing the yield goal and knowing how much is needed for the particular soil, through the imagery now is possible to write a prescription map. Farmers could reduce up to 30% in economic values by basically applying fertilizer in areas where plants respond.
He says areas that are constantly underproducing are costing farmers, and more nitrogen isn't helping.
So if the crop, uses fertilizer, the imagery is able to inform where those areas are. And so we use a terminology that we call those areas high and stable. They're constantly producing well over the years, but there are parts of the fields that they're constantly underproducing. And so the question is obviously why putting fertilizer in the same amount in areas where they're not, benefiting. And then there are other parts of the field where, the yield fluctuates from one year to the next. And so be able to learn what type of weather you have, it helps you make this sort of management decision even on the unstable zone.
Basso says the technology can also apply to seeds and other inputs, but nitrogen remains the largest cost to farmers.
We need to start managing for profit and not for yield, because there are areas that have just not been gifted as much as the other areas.
I'm Nicole Heslop with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
We stand for people, progress and pride.
We are the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we believe in nurturing our state's most precious resource, our children. That's why we provide millions of dollars in scholarships, grants, and resources to Iowa students and teachers. For more information, contact your local county farm bureau.
People, progress and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau, helping you.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KWMT news update, I'm Rob Jones. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. Authorities say a northeast Iowa farmer was killed by an 1,800-pound bull this weekend. Radio Iowa's Darren Svensson reports.
A Harpers Ferry man was killed Sunday when he was attacked by a bull. McKee County Sheriff Clark Mellick says 59-year-old John Conway died of injuries in the attack, which occurred in a wooded pasture area near Harpers Ferry. Authorities say the bull was disposed of due to its extremely aggressive behavior. The incident remains under investigation. I'm Darren Swenson for Radio Iowa.
After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation July the 12th as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing pursuant to Iowa codes. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office or visit iowaworks.gov. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation has been called in to help investigate a shooting involving an Iowa City police officer. Radio Iowa's Dar Danielson with more.
Iowa City Police say the officer responded to a shoplifting complaint from a business on the west side of town around 3:30 Monday, located a man nearby. The man fired a BB gun at the officer several times, and the officer returned fire and hit the man. The officer had injuries to his face and was taken to the hospital along with the shoplifting suspect. Both are reported in stable condition. Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson.
A teenager is facing multiple weapons charges here in Webster County. 17-year-old Marcus Roy Delp is being charged with trafficking stolen weapons, possession of a firearm or offensive weapon by a felon, and transferring a firearm to a person under 21. For KWMT from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 2:33, 27 minutes before 3 o'clock. First of all, in the weather, sunny with a high of 77 overnight, mostly clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 78. Thursday, sunny with a high of 80. Friday, a slight chance of a thunderstorm, otherwise sunny with a high of 80. Saturday, sunny with a high of 80. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 83. And on Monday, it'll be sunny with a high of 83 degrees. Absolutely perfect weather for human beings. Steve Peterson is with the Farm Bureau is here, and we'll see how this weather is for corn. Right now, 74 degrees under a fair sky here in Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Well-known Fort Dodge man Dean Konvalinka has passed away at 69. Dean Konvalinka died last Saturday at his home. There will be a funeral service for Dean Konvalinka at 10 a.m. Friday, here in town. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 235 and 74 degrees at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 5 3/4 to $4.11 1/4. December down 6 cents to $4.21. March down 5 3/4 to $4.31. May down 5 1/4 to $4.35 1/2. August soybeans down 7 cents to $8.78 3/4. September down 7 1/4 to $8.84 1/4. November down 7 1/2 to $8.96 3/4. January down 7 1/2 to $9.10. September wheat down 6 1/4 to $4.97 1/4. Soybean meal down $3.90 a ton at $300.30. August live cattle down 55 at $108.10. October down 37 cents at $109.07. August feeder cattle up 80 cents at $143.10. September up $122 at $144.05. August lean hogs down $2.12 to $82.30, and October down $2.45 to $74. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens, and they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
Warning: if you're buried in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Answers at 800-970-5932. If you're struggling to pay off your debt, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to. Call Credit Answers now for free information on how to get out of debt faster than you ever thought possible, without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We offer a guarantee with no upfront fees, so there's no risk. For free information, visit creditanswers.com or call 800-970-5932. That's 800-970-5932.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. What a beautiful day. And again, we deserve it absolutely after all those terrible days. That 6-week period we had probably from the middle of February to the end of March. That totally sucked. And if you're a farmer, you thought it was not too good clear into May. And so let's talk with a farmer here. He's Steve Peterson with the Webster County Farm Bureau, and he is past president of the Webster County Farm Bureau. And of course, he joins us today from beautiful downtown Slifer. So what's going on there, Steve?
Just enjoying the weather finally.
I am as well. How is this weather for the corn? The old farmers used to tell me the best weather for corn is when the temperature is over 90 during the day and never under 70 during the night, which was miserable for human beings. But I failed to get them to understand that our feelings mattered in that regard.
Well, I don't know if I could agree with the 90 during the day, but I sure enjoy these high 70s, 80 degree temps.
Well, yeah, but are you talking now as a human being who doesn't want to see the temperatures that high, or as a farmer, is that kind of heat too much for the corn?
If we were getting, if we were getting timely rains, I could probably take the temperatures. Right now, it seems that we've kind of we're not extremely dry by any means, but I got I think total last week a little shy of a half inch of rain.
Okay.
And I'd take every bit of that. So we're doing pretty good right now. We're not seeing a whole lot of drought stress, but I don't know any farmers that wouldn't appreciate a nice shower here and then for just general. But nighttime temps is really for corn production. that's kind of what we found to be the magic. We need the nighttime temps to go below 70 degrees.
You needed to go below 70
at night
because it was like 53, 54 last night.
Yeah,
you could kind of feel fall in the air. Much as I hate to say that.
Yeah, that, however, is nice for opening the windows and throwing an extra blanket on.
It sure is.
But if in corn production, if we stay above 70 degrees, the plant really doesn't know when to shut off. And I guess for lack of better terms, it'd be like a marathon runner just kept running. It doesn't have time to rest. And the kind of one of the keys to good yields is to give that plant a chance to rest. And that's what it does at 70 degrees. Some of the fungicides that we do apply to both corn and soybeans, it's actually one of the it's kind of a side effect, but it's one of the beneficial things that can actually manipulate the corn into slowing down a little bit and just taking some time off. Otherwise, it seems to race, and that in the end tends to hurt yields. But as far as growing degree units, which we've talked about in the past, that's an accumulation that we measure.
We can never say it too many times. We're educating here, Steve.
Yep, that's what we keep track of. We're pretty close to, I guess, average, whatever an average year is right now. We've been kind of balancing about 100 units off most of the year, but we have been creeping up to what average is, and then a lot of it's going to come down to when the crop was planted. So of course you got your early stuff that was planted. It really wasn't early, it was just, I guess, more what was on time. And of course then we did have a lot of crop that was both corn and beans, at least in this area, that were put in a little behind normal. And then you travel out in other surrounding states and whatnot, there was stuff that was put in extremely late. That's going to come down to, and that's anyone's guess at this point. You can look at all the predictions and about an early frost.
Yeah.
And, that's always a wild card. We really haven't had one in a long time. So I guess the people in that camp, every year we don't have one, it's probably a little more to their favor, but that would kind of be a monkey wrench in the system, because an early frost can, depending on the crop progress or stage, that could of course in corn, if it could really slow the drying down. In soybeans, depending on what state those are at, you can end up with a lot of green beans that frankly won't turn into a yellow soybean.
Okay.
And it can just create a lot of problems for there's really nothing good that's going to come out of an early frost, especially with
there's just no good outcome there, is there?
Not many I can think of with a crop that we have spread out as long as we do right now. So last week I wasn't here. It got to be kind of that go time for spraying for me for insects, and it was also the time to spray fungicide on the soybeans. And with the weather that we kind of had dancing around, it was time to go. So again, if you drive around in the country right now, it was about a month ago we talked about all the butterflies that we've seen on the road. They are out again. It's the next generation of those, and they have been causing havoc in soybean fields across, or really south of here, but up in this area we're really starting to see them. And every one of those butterflies will lay an egg out in a soybean field, and that if you remember science and biology back in school, that will then turn into a caterpillar, and that caterpillar goes to town digesting and consuming our soybean plants. So
we don't want that.
They have been reports further south here, down around Stewart, in that area, that the caterpillars have actually consumed the soybean plant down to its stem.
Yikes.
In a matter of 3 days.
Wow.
So they are very aggressive. I've heard reports that some farmers have said they can actually see their fields moving. So, you do not want.
They are hungry little suckers,
they
aren't
they? And it's something that you do not want to let that infestation take over. So we have, working with Iowa State and different agronomy organizations, whatnot. They come up with some thresholds, and then we kind of go forward with a plan. And hopefully, now this is I've heard a couple different. This is supposedly the third round of them, and they keep building and they keep kind of migrating north as we have gone out. I've heard some people say it's second. Iowa State actually says there can only be two, but in Nebraska they claim that they're dealing with a third round of them also. And but yeah, these butterflies, they look like a monarch butterfly, a smaller monarch. They do have some extra color on their wings. They're actually called a painted butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the caterpillar is referred to as a thistle caterpillar. And they're not really new to the area, but in these numbers, it is it's never happened.
Mhm.
So I don't know really what environmental change there was to see this kind of explosion in them, but it is relatively new pests that we've had to deal with, or a pest that's brought to us an economic threshold to treat. So that is something new. There's also talk of here in the next few weeks, we kind of get into the window of our dreaded nemesis we've had here for a few years, and that's the soybean aphids.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully some of the applications that we did or are currently doing will have enough residual to hopefully fend off the next round. We kind of get into a time frame, and this gets to be a little tricky. We have what's called pre-harvest intervals, and those are by the EPA and the chemical manufacturers, basically our last application before we harvest the grain, and that's for safety of the grain in the food chain. So we'll have to start looking or estimating when harvest will be here and when we can safely apply those chemicals if we would have to do a third round. So a little challenging. Normally by now, I'm pretty much done with the sprayer. I'm probably going to think about winterizing it, and I'll have to probably keep it ready to go for a few more weeks on my operation. So a little different this year, but overall, it seems a lot of the cornfields, I think, visually look a lot better right now. They've definitely,
from the road, they look terrific. I've been out in gravel.
They do. I think if you get up in the air or get into a high clearance apparatus and get out in the field, while they do look a lot more even, I think the yields will still be kind of variable. This is kind of a point of the year where it is a little deceiving, I think, on some of the crops, but definitely, at least in this area, they're looking considerably better than they were. So,
considering the start we got, I'd say we're doing pretty well here.
Sure, and so it's kind of an ongoing challenge right now. I know I got my combine out last week, so we're starting to think about.
You got your combine out.
Well, you have to do, I call it the machine shed shuffle, and you have to get the fall equipment out and put the spring stuff you're done with, and you tuck it back and you start bringing stuff outside and start going through your checklist and starting to make sure everything for fall. We're going to start getting it ready, and there'll be bearings to be greased and filters, and just make sure things are ready to go, because we get towards the, it's going to be August this week, and
Thursday.
Next thing you know, September will be rolling around the corner, and we'll be pretty close to.
This time it goes way too fast. I've said the last couple of days I've gone out to get the newspaper pretty early. The last few days, I can feel fall in the air. It's that kind of foggy fog we have when the weather changes dramatically.
We'll be watching football 4 weeks probably.
3 weeks, I believe, is what they said. College ball, anyway.
Yeah. So things are changing, and
I don't know when the high school kids probably are on in 3 weeks.
So
if anybody knows, call us at 515-955-1400. Yeah, I bet in 3 weeks we have high school ball. We can go out to Dodger Stadium, see a game.
It's it's just that time of year, and there's still a lot of moving parts to it. But I see these rain chances in the forecast, and of course I don't want severe weather, but definitely would take a drink. I don't, my yard, I kind of gauge you can gauge a lot by just your yard in July and August, and I'm still mowing the grass, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah. I know that we got that little bit of rain over the weekend, and last week I had, surprisingly enough, in my front yard, I had a lot of yellow spots. I mean, the sun was pretty intense there for a few days.
Sure.
We got up to 99 degrees one day and probably 105 humidity. It was ridiculous.
Right.
And just sucked that grass dry.
Yeah. So, but other than that, again, we get our crop rating reports out every Monday. The big anticipated report is going to be here in another, I think the 11th, a couple weeks. That's the report where they're going to supposedly have all the answers for the prevent plant, and it's the report that they released, and then 2 hours later they said, oh, by the way, we're going to resurvey. That was kind of the market really doesn't know what to do right now because there's so much conflicting information. Even in the government agencies are actually kind of conflicting themselves, according to all the prevent plant. By the government's own numbers, I believe they are in excess of over 10 million acres now that didn't get planted. So will all of those numbers be put in to the next report, or is it going to be something that they kick the can down the road long enough? We might not know the real answer to some of this till probably January.
Sure.
Puts a little uncertainty into it. Last week, the mechanics of the market facilitation program version 2 were finally released, and we got a little more
market facilitation. That's a nice term.
Yeah, that's
what does that mean?
Well, last year it was the market facilitation program. It was also known as the Trump bump.
It's federal aid to farmers because
it was
the
market distortion that the trade dispute has brought on.
That's right.
And
still no end in sight. Did we get the USMCA done yet, or the Democrats still punishing us out here?
The backdoor chatter I've heard is that Pelosi has made a deal with the White House, but she has not commented on it publicly, that she would be willing to bring that to the floor in October.
God.
So no, we have
that
not.
Would make a year since we thought we had this.
Yeah,
done.
We've been talking about that way too long. That's on that. Now the Chinese negotiations, supposedly they're being fired up again. We kind of walked away, and then or they, for whatever reason, the talks dispersed. Now they're back together. I personally don't see the Chinese coming to any arrangement till probably the next presidential election. I just don't know why they would need to. I think they'll dangle a carrot as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we need to get the USMCA deal. That's the deal basically between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. That's definitely within our grasp. I believe Mexico has ratified it. Canada is on path to, and the United States is kind of the ones that are being holdups on it. And it's a good thing. We just need to get it done, get some certainty. That's what kind of, back to this market facilitation program that we currently have. What it does is give us a little more clarity in the market. While again, just the same song and dance that we gave last year. Farmers, we would rather have trade, not aid. Unfortunately, I know we're very appreciative of the assistance that this gives, but it really doesn't make you whole as a producer. And it's everyone would like to have it or not have to rely on these, but unfortunately, with the soybeans, market price at the elevator I just looked this morning was around $8.20 a bushel. That's definitely off of where we were prior to this. So at least having this now, what we're going to receive, they've done it different. Last year it was based on a per bushel of somewhere in the $1.64-$1.58 range for beans. The joke was that corn, they gave you a penny, and they did it in I think they gave it in 2 installments last year. They did an early, and then we finally got a second one. This one's set up a little different. They didn't base this on any production levels because in their mind, they didn't want to distort planting intentions. So they didn't want people planting crops for this mark or this potential payment, because they announced it back in the spring. But in order to get, in their view, to make this a little fairer, it's not orientated on your production. So they have a list of approved crops, and if you have an approved crop on that list, they basically have a county rate. So Webster County is $68 an acre. I believe
$68 an acre for
any of the approved crops.
Okay.
So corn, soybeans, it doesn't matter. It's just if you've got approved crops on those guaranteed or those planted acres, which we go into our FSA office and certify our acres. If you've got an approved crop on that crop acre in that given county, you're eligible for that money.
Okay.
This first payment will be a 50% payment. So in Webster County, it'll be about $34 an acre. And then there will be 2 additional payments that will be pending the trade outcome. So those aren't guaranteed. That will be, and one will be made, I believe, in November, and the other one would be made in January. So if for some reason a trade arrangement or some criteria would happen, those payments could either proceed or be, I guess, pulled back by the government if the markets would rebound on their own or because of a trade agreement.
Sure.
So in that sense, it does give a little more clarity, I guess, as a producer. I'm kind of looking at my crop right now and myself, and it's looking, I'm going to be optimistic and say I'm going to have average yields.
Average yield.
That's kind of on my farm.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going with average, and when I talk average, that's my 10-year average. That's kind of our line that every farmer has. So if I base that on there, and now I know another piece of the puzzle, I'm going to get say $34 an acre or for this trade assistance. That's another piece of the puzzle I know. So I'm starting to get a little more certainty of what I either need to market for some grain or start filling in some of these unknowns. Right now, I've not talked to any farmers that have been real enthusiastic about marketing soybeans because it was just a lose-lose situation. I think everyone's hoping for a better success or a better situation to be in because of the soybeans. Corn is a little different story. That's definitely seems like it's gotten a little more traction in the markets, and we're definitely at a different price than we were a year ago on that. So
sure.
Corn, I'm pretty short-term wise, I'm pretty excited about. And a lot of that direction could change on the August report. I think it's August 11th or 12th. And that's going to be a pretty pivotal bit of information going forward. So
sure. You talked about the USMCA and the back channel. You might have heard something on USMCA. Is there a back channel as far as China is concerned?
I don't know how. No, because I don't think anyone knows.
I don't think anybody does either. The Chinese are being so quiet, and now the administration has been quiet.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, these sanctions are hurting China. But of course, China is a police state.
Yeah.
They don't have a free press. They don't have an opposing party or any of those things.
No.
So they can stick it out longer, but they don't want to see their people start going backwards economically.
To a point. I mean, we're not even really hearing a tremendous amount about African swine fever anymore either. That seems like it's becoming the norm over there, or it's not as sensationalized as it once was.
Right.
But yeah, when I was in China this spring, you don't have social media and Facebook and things like that. It's all state controlled. I know when we got to Hong Kong, we had a lot of those restrictions. They became more available to us. There was a Chinese person next to me on an airplane. I turned my phone on, and they just about died when they seen Facebook. They just couldn't.
They thought that was the coolest.
They thought that was pretty neat. And in China, I believe they have a service that translates roughly to WeChat, but it's a completely censored and monitored social media, so it's very modified
Mhm.
compared to what we have here. So yeah, I don't know, but I unless the Chinese are put in such a position that they have to make a deal, I really don't see them going above and beyond to make one before the next election.
They will not lose. I'll tell you. I mean, they can't be perceived as losing at all.
Correct.
You know, we just have elections.
You know,
the leader there gets thrown in jail.
They have been lifting some restrictions on buying some soybeans and small purchases, I think, to fill some needs, but nothing large scale to what we were.
All right, we're talking with Steve Peterson. This part of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Yeah, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 74 degrees, KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa. Thanks for listening.
Round 2 in the fight for 2020. I'm Steve Rappaport, Fox News. Democrats running for president take the stage tonight for a second set of debates. Fox's Jared Halpern has more live.
Top-tier candidates Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren will meet for the first time on the debate stage. And all 10 Democratic candidates debate tonight, including several struggling to break through, like Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan.
I think it's important for everybody. I wouldn't say do or die, but, this is definitely a great opportunity. There's going to be millions of Americans watching who don't know me.
Ryan has been critical of some of his rivals' health care plans, saying it's a big problem to take away private insurance. Health care expected to be a big issue both tonight and tomorrow. Steve.
Jared, President Trump is keeping up his feud with a prominent black congressman representing Baltimore.
Elijah Cummings has been there for 26 years. He's really, by far, the highest-ranking politician. He's seen these mayors get thrown out. They're all friends of his.
The president earlier saying people from Baltimore are living in hell. Critics say the president's remarks about Cummings and his city are racist. Capital One stock tumbling in the aftermath of a massive data breach.
It was only a matter of time before a lawsuit against Capital One was filed, and it didn't take long. We're learning now the suit filed in D.C. on behalf of a customer is seeking class action status, and it could be the first of many. Federal investigators say Paige Thompson from Seattle single-handedly hacked into a cloud storage system and got access to all of that data. Capital One says the breach affected 100 million people in the U.S.
The Fox Business Network's Grady Trimble. And at the closing bell on Wall Street, we have the Dow finishing down 23 points at 27,198. The Nasdaq off 20, and the S&P 500 gave back 8. This is Fox News.
When the sand gets hot, you gotta move fast, like a dog chasing a frisbee. Move just as fast to the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Because for the first time ever, you can get 20% estimated savings on select Ford vehicles. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Don't let this hot deal on America's best-selling brand pass you by. Get into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Based on 2010 through 2018 calendar year sales. Modem must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
It's now the law of the land for candidates in California. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more live.
SB 27 will require the release of 5 years of tax returns from candidates for governor or president in order to appear on the ballot in the state. Now, in a statement, Governor Gavin Newsom wrote, the disclosure required by this bill will shed light on conflicts of interest, self-dealing, or influence from domestic and foreign business interests. The state's previous governor, Jerry Brown, vetoed a similar bill, saying it might not be constitutional. And he asked, what's next? Your health records, high school report cards? It is a clear shot at President Trump, whose attorney has responded that this will be met with in court. Even if his administration does challenge this law, as it appears they will, it was highly unlikely anyway that Mr. Trump was going to win California's electoral vote, Steve.
Thanks, Jessica. A deadly shooting at a Walmart in Mississippi.
We looked back to the store and saw this guy running into the store. And I'm thinking, why is he running into the store, And Just about 30 seconds later, we see two people run out of the store and then just a flood of people leaving.
Authorities saying a disgruntled employee fatally shot two coworkers at their store in South Haven. The suspect also wounding a police officer before he was shot and arrested. The self-proclaimed mastermind of the 9/11 attacks is open to helping victims' families in their lawsuit against Saudi Arabia. But according to a court filing obtained by the Wall Street Journal, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed will only do so if the U.S. spares him from the death penalty.
Mohammed told interrogators that he worked with Osama bin Laden planning the 9/11 attacks, which involved 19 hijackers, 15 of them citizens of Saudi Arabia. The federal lawsuit accusing the Saudi government of helping coordinate 9/11 seeks depositions from several inmates, including KSM.
Fox's Rick Leventhal. Mohammed confessed to numerous terror plots, but those admissions came under torture. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KWMT news update, I'm Rob Jones. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. Authorities say a northeast Iowa farmer was killed by an 1,800-pound bull this weekend. Radio Iowa's Darren Svensson reports.
A Harpers Ferry man was killed Sunday when he was attacked by a bull. McKee County Sheriff Clark Mellick says 59-year-old John Conway died of injuries in the attack, which occurred in a wooded pasture area near Harpers Ferry. Authorities say the bull was disposed of due to its extremely aggressive behavior. The incident remains under investigation. I'm Darren Swenson for Radio Iowa.
After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation July the 12th as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing pursuant to Iowa codes. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office or visit iowaworks.gov. The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation has been called in to help investigate a shooting involving an Iowa City police officer. Radio Iowa's Dar Danielson with more.
Iowa City police say the officer responded to a shoplifting complaint from a business on the west side of town around 3:30 Monday, located a man nearby. The man fired a BB gun at the officer several times, and the officer returned fire and hit the man. The officer had injuries to his face and was taken to the hospital along with the shoplifting suspect. Both are reported in stable condition. Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson.
A teenager is facing multiple weapons charges here in Webster County. 17-year-old Marcus Roy Delp is being charged with trafficking stolen weapons, possession of a firearm or offensive weapon by a felon, and transferring a firearm to a person under 21. For KWMT from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Highs level off around 77 this afternoon under mainly clear skies. Winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 57 tonight. High of 78 tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies. Temperatures a bit below average Thursday and Friday with highs in the upper 70s. Thunderstorms possible both days. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 74.
We stand for people, progress and pride.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we're making healthcare affordable for you. We provide our members with access to quality healthcare coverage, savings on prescription drugs, preventive care, and more. For more information, contact your local county farm bureau.
People, progress and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau, helping you.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
It's Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We're going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. And what a surprise, we have a member of the Webster County Farm Bureau here, Steve Peterson from beautiful downtown Sliver, also a fireman. So you got to go on a little fire call here the other night. It's been on the news today.
Yesterday afternoon.
All right. How many calls do you get over there? A month, do you suppose?
Well, it just varies. You know, it really does.
You got a time of the year when we have more fires. I would guess it would be the summer.
You know, you just never know. The falls, a lot of times we get busy with field fires, depending on the weather.
No, there's always field fires, aren't there?
Field fires are, probably I would say, it just depends. We get a combination of fires and car accidents, and it goes in spurts. So, we've had a couple house fires in the last probably 60 days, which is not normal for us. Yesterday, I think it was about 3:30. It was a fire north of Summers, and it was it's always a team effort, especially out in the rural parts of the county. So it was multiple departments. It was the Reading Cedar, which is based out of Farnville, and Canarum, and Rockwell City.
Sure.
So, it's a joint effort. We have to truck all of our water in, which is, when you do get to work in an urban setting where you have fire hydrants and whatnot, that is a luxury we do not have in a majority of our area. So we work on tankers and porta tanks, and it's a lot of extra work. So, luckily no one was hurt. It was unoccupied at the time, and but it was fully engulfed when we got on scene.
Sure.
So it's pretty much a contained type situation. So
okay,
but again, it's good experience for us all to work together with our other departments and whatnot too. And I don't think there was a whole lot of issue with everyone. So it's one of those unfortunate things that goes on. And
yeah, what can you say?
But yeah, so I seen you get to see a lot of faces you don't normally see. And I seen Mr. Murley there.
Squirrely Murley, he was there.
Oh yeah, he was there. He must have just been getting off work. So
oh, that's right. Murley's in the fire department.
Yeah, he's on Rockwell City. So
how did I forget that?
Yep. So, but no, yeah, it's just one of the other things I do. But yeah, it varies. There's no way to predict or whatnot. But we seem to lately. It seems like we've had more structure fires and a few more car accidents than normal. So
really,
yeah.
You ever had a field fire?
Oh, personally,
personally.
Not that wasn't intentional. So we burn CRP in the springtime.
Yeah, sure.
So we're setting fires, but no, unfortunately I never have.
They can get exciting pretty fast.
They can, and that a lot of that goes into the preparation that we do as farmers on our equipment too, and keeping equipment clean, and you know, the leaf blower was probably one of the best inventions for cleaning a combine off at night and to knock down the buildup of residue and chaff and whatnot. And you know, I guess being on the fire department, it gives me a little extra insight of where they start and what to look for, and but you know, cleanliness is huge when it comes to and the weather conditions too. There's just some days, boy, when the news service has those red flag days that they call them, the humidity's just right, the wind's just right. It doesn't take anything to light a fire. We've had more than several fires that are just caused by people flicking cigarettes out their windshields.
Is that still a problem?
It amazingly is, and it's usually very easy to source too, because if you can find the V or the origin of that fire, a lot of times that cigarette will just be lying there, just
kidding,
plain as day.
It used to happen a lot when people smoked. A lot more people used to smoke.
It still happens, and they'll flick a cigarette out the window, and it can light up, or a piece of machinery can drop a spark. And chopping corn heads, that's something that's relatively new, but with those blades spinning under there, if they hit a rock, they can send a spark out, and you've got fresh fluff right there, and that can start it too. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things that we get into. Some years there was, it was back when we kind of were in that drought. It was horrible. I remember we spent a whole day traveling the countryside from one fire to the next. It was just, it looked like a movie scene in the horizon with all the smoke plumes and yeah, you definitely it's a team effort when you start getting field fires.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a team sport. So but yeah, other than that, we got coming up, we're going to have some district farm bureau meetings. That's where we'll start getting some first glimpses into our policy for the 2019. We're already starting to talk about the 2019 legislative session. And then the 1st of September, I know I have some Farm Bureau meetings at Des Moines, and that's where we'll actually finally meet as a delegate body, and we'll start going through some of and start crafting our policies. Last week, I had a chance to sit down with our president, Craig Hill, and just kind of having a little informal chat about some things going on and some things to look at. And you know, and then watching the news, you know, off air, we talked a little bit about, you know, I'm amazed of the traction that the meatless burgers are getting in the consumer side. That's fun. It seems it's almost, I shouldn't say it's amusing, but for as much heat as we take about non-GMO burgers, it's hard for me to understand how people can grasp a genetic or a manufactured burger. And you know, and it's gonna I think in some ways going forward, I'm not saying they won't have their place, but it definitely could confuse the consumer of because what I traditionally think of a burger is, you know, a hamburger or you know, something basically in a bun, and I've never thought about it being anything other than that. And there's going to be a difference between a plant-based burger and a bioengineered burger. So there's going to be a lot of definitions. I think they're going to need some clarity. There's probably going to be some talk on what's going to be allowed to be called a burger, you know, or what's going to be able to be called milk or meat, or
we're redefining milk now. Huh?
Well, milk, and that is kind of been an argument because I believe the technical definition of milk is something produced from a mammary gland of a
breast
from a mammal
woman.
From a mammal.
Okay.
From a mammal. And you know, nothing like
but that's not the common use. The common use a word is milk, and that's not the common understanding.
But with the advent of almond milk and some others, they have kind of bled over in that territory. And I think maybe that was done and it wasn't clarified, but now that's kind of confused, I think, some people or some consumers. And then going forward now, when we're going to start classifying different kinds of meat, you know, because I think a lot of people and you know, there's some people that definitely for the most part, I think most people feel their food is safe. I think that's
true in this country.
I think that's true in this country. But there's a growing number of people that really want to know where their food comes from. I think there's some people that would put value in knowing that. There's a term that our president Hill, we talked just a little bit about. It's been a little while back, and I asked him what's one thing in the future that I haven't really heard about that we're going to be talking about, and he brought up the term blockchain.
Blockchain.
And I'd never heard that, and now after I've heard that word, I've heard that being used a little here and there. And basically, what blockchain is that it's a, for a better term, it's kind of a family tree of a product and where it originated from. So if corn was involved in the manufacture, I would have to provide basically a chain of command or a chain of evidence of how I produced it, where it was produced from, and the seed would have to have that
wow.
before me. And it's basically a string of information that in the future could be widely adopted to traceability and to bring value to a product. And it's kind of a novel idea, but it's basically blocks of information that form a chain in the makeup of a product. And it could be anything from lipstick to cornflakes, and everything in between. And it's a mass of that information. And that's something that's going to be in the future, I think more popular or even demanded by, it's going to be consumer driven to know this information. And that'll be a kind of just the way we do it. I think it'll become second nature. So it's very, very much in its infancy right now, but it sounded like that could potentially be a worldwide information chain, blockchain as well.
Blockchain.
Yeah. Look it up sometime. It's
I'll do it right now.
It's a crazy concept, but in agriculture that definitely could impact how we market our stuff and things like that. So, those are some kind of far out issues that we talk about, and it's going to be interesting to see what the consensus of all of our counties come together with, what policies we want to talk about. And then we'll come after we get done with those meetings and we get everything ironed out. We'll come out with our new policy book for this year, and that's what we'll present to our legislators and our policy within Farm Bureau and the National Farm Bureau. So it's the real bread and butter of how our organization works.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Craig Hill, he gets around, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
He's a pretty sharp guy.
Yeah. We're fortunate enough. He also sits on the American Farm Bureau board, which
he does.
So that's a national policy, and he had some good stories. We should have him call in here sometime, because I talked to him about when he was out in the White House for the last signing the president did out there. There was a bunch of farm organizations out there, and he's got some pretty interesting stories behind the scenes dealing with the president And I know President Trump took him into the White House or the Oval Office personally just to show him around. And
really,
and yeah, it was very interesting, and the the politics and what makes it go around out there in Washington.
Well, of course, Donald Trump sometimes gets himself in trouble, but from what I've understood from many people, he's a very cordial man. Very respectful and friendly and great sense of humor. Just when he gets mad, he gets in trouble.
The New York City businessman, I think, surfaces and
boy, in that environment, you got to be tough in business anyway.
I think so. So, but yeah, it's there's going to be some things talked about, and short of that, I know off of some of our county opinionaires and some things that were sent in. There's going to be, some little tweaking and policies we're going to work with here in the state. And locally, coming up, there's, we're always going to be looking at the taxes and the budgets and things like that locally. So it's kind of an ongoing thing, but that's what we do as an organization. There's water quality is always going to be a big thing. Going forward, it looks like we're getting finally. It's such a slow moving process. By the time you get funding and what we're talking about, it's like this UMCA deal. It just doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. And even though we had money that was originated 512, that was a Senate bill. We talked about that 2 years ago, and now we're just starting to see the money roll into some of these projects and these implementations. And I've seen criticism because of the slowness, but it just doesn't happen overnight. And we constantly have to be working at that to move the needle.
Sure.
It's everyone's best interest. And Mother Nature throws us so many curveballs of what to do. But, this year, I know there's a lot of some buffer strips and stuff like that that's constantly going in. Cover crops, I know there's a lot of farmers that are they're going to get a good idea working with them on the prevent plant acres this year. So it's actually going to, that could end up being a good thing for a lot of guys because they're going to get hands-on experience with cover crops without advertently, so they're going to get some experience with them. And change is hard for some people. So that's going to kind of self-educate some people on how to use some cover crops and different, even from planting them to even where they buy them. Sometimes that's just an unknown for some people, and it's hard to change. So, for all the issues that came out of this year, hopefully some good can come out of that too.
Yeah, really.
But
it's always some stuff,
Sure,
it's always something.
Sure, but
that's why it's business. You stay on top of it.
Yeah, and I've even heard that this rash of these butterflies we have is a consequence of the cover crops that we've put in too. So sometimes,
wasn't there a concern not too long ago that the monarchs were dying off?
That was in fact it was
the monarchs and the bees.
The monarchs, the bees, and then the bees have miraculously made a comeback, and the monarchs were very close to being put on the endangered species list.
Right.
And that has a lot of implications that even go beyond agriculture or here in Webster County. I believe if the monarchs would go on the endangered species list, I'm not 100% sure that the cities would be able to spray for mosquitoes anymore. Because the trouble with insecticides are they are not specifically species oriented. So if you just because you're going after one, you could inadvertently target other species.
Right.
So that's always a trouble when we apply insecticides out in our fields. Is there also out there is a group of beneficial insects, and when we spray the insecticides, they're non-selective. So we're basically going to eradicate everything in the field. We can then have flare-ups of other insects because there's no predators out there, or good insects that are not harmful to our crops, but they keep the other insects at bay. A big concern usually if we spray, we can, especially if we go hot and dry, we can see what we call spider mite flare-ups, and then that would then force us to do another application to protect against that invasion of that particular species. So it's a constant balancing act. But yes, the monarchs, they seem to have made somewhat of a comeback this year. I haven't heard a lot of talk about them going on that endangered species list. A lot of the criticism of that is we got really good at getting rid of milkweeds. And that used to be a plant that was common back. I remember when I was younger, walking beans was those milkweeds, and that's one of the preferred habitats of a monarch butterfly. So now there's a lot of farmers that put in what's called a pollinator crop, and on their CRP ground or their conservation reserve acres, they could go in and plant these pollinator mixes, which are a mix of warm, cool season grasses and different flowers, and it basically provides an environment for bees and butterflies and such not. So inadvertently, though, that might be some of the case why we've had such a flush this year of these painted butterflies, which look a lot like a monarch, but they have some extra color on their wing, and they're a little bit smaller than what I would say a traditional monarch is.
Well, you turned me onto this Ag Web app, and I see it just popped up here that Trump is casting doubt on the China talks, and the EPA is considering RFS exemptions. This is just bad news today.
Yeah, it's a constant battle.
What kind of nonsense is that, for crying out loud?
It's a constant battle. All of our representatives from all the Midwestern states, they definitely have their handfuls in Washington, it seems like. So,
oh, yeah. Well, again, it's business. It's international business. Everybody's always throwing elbows, trying to get up on somebody, and that's the nature of it.
Yep.
And if you're not competitive, you should stay out of the game.
Yeah, it is. And but fortunately, hopefully, we'll near future. I'd love to see the USMCA deal pass through. I don't see. We need to keep pressuring people to get that on the floor and make it go for a vote.
Well, I don't know who we pressure here in Iowa. We have mainly Republican legislators, and these are West Coast Democrats are holding up. The USMCA deal to punish us here in the Midwest for supporting Trump, and they're mad.
So
yeah, well, what do you do? Well,
you just keep putting pressure on them.
Yeah.
And I know that's what they're doing. I think they're trying to iron out some budget deals, and I think maybe if they can use it for some leverage or whatnot, the way politics used to work, I guess.
See, this is the bad thing about Trump and his propensity to punch back hard at his enemies. For 3 days, we've been talking about these tweets. Now, we should be talking about the China trade deal. We should be talking about the USMCA deal, or at least it should be in the conversation somewhere. But all we can talk about is Trump and his damn tweets.
Yeah, I don't know that the tweets have made us a better nation.
No, no, I don't really think so. You know, if he wanted to crow about something, he's got a good economy.
Yep.
But he's just going to throw a punch. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Our guest has been Steve Peterson, the past president of the Webster County Farm Bureau. Steve, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 75 degrees at 3:32. The news is coming up.
Don't fertilize low-yielding areas. I am Nicole Heslop with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Remote sensing research is finding some areas of the field are constantly underproducing, and applying the recommended amount of nitrogen year after year hasn't made a difference. Michigan State University researcher Bruno Basso says it's time to put your money elsewhere. We'll have more about his work right after this.
Iowa farmers are continually striving to improve the quality of our land so future generations can continue farming these acres. And it starts by working together to incorporate more sustainable practices in our fields. The Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship works with farmers and landowners to implement proven conservation practices that protect water quality and improve soil health. Farmers can sign up now for funding to help offset the cost of trying a water quality focused conservation practice like cover crops. Apply now through your local soil and water conservation office.
Time. It's the eternal measure for growers everywhere, influencing the ebbs and flows of every season. Through it all, Nutrien Ag Solutions stands with you, offering agronomic power, local expertise, and access to solutions to help you lead the field. Because the time to act is right now. Find your local crop consultant at nutrienagsolutions.com.
Remote sensing is helping farmers reduce inputs and increase profits.
The Basso Lab has been trying to help them clarify, how this technology works and how they can make more informed decisions to use fertilizer more efficiently, so they can increase profitability and reduce losses to the environment.
Bruno Basso with Michigan State University tells Brownfield his remote sensing research has compiled images from more than 70 million corn acres in 10 Midwestern states to better understand nitrogen use.
You couldn't possibly walk everywhere in a field, so the use of imagery, it helps, first of all, scouting, locations within the field that they have different growing conditions. But the technology is now at a stage that is able to convert what an image detects into the amount of nitrogen that has already been used by the plant. Knowing the yield goal and knowing how much is needed for the particular soil, through the imagery now is possible to write a prescription map. Farmers could reduce up to 30% in economic values by basically applying fertilizer in areas where plants respond.
He says areas that are constantly underproducing are costing farmers, and more nitrogen isn't helping.
So if the crop, uses fertilizer, the imagery is able to inform where those areas are. And so we use a terminology that we call those areas high and stable. They're constantly producing well over the years, but there are parts of the fields that they're constantly underproducing. And so the question is obviously why putting fertilizer in the same amount in areas where they're not, benefiting. And then there are other parts of the field where, the yield fluctuates from one year to the next. And so be able to learn what type of weather you have, it helps you make this sort of management decision even on the unstable zone.
Basso says the technology can also apply to seeds and other inputs, but nitrogen remains the largest cost to farmers.
We need to start managing for profit and not for yield, because there are areas that have just not been gifted as much as the other areas.
I'm Nicole Heslop with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
The bakers at Village Hearth are proud to introduce the latest addition to their Artisan Hearth brand family of products. Artisan Hearth Rustic Country White Bread. Thickly sliced and lightly dusted with flour, this gourmet loaf has been carefully crafted to deliver the homemade taste and slightly chewy texture your family will love. Try Artisan Hearth Country Rustic White Bread. Toasted or untoasted, it's the perfect complement to your favorite sandwiches. Artisan Hearth, baked fresh locally.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office or visit iowaworks.gov. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Highs level off around 77 this afternoon under mainly clear skies. Winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 57 tonight. High of 78 tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies. Temperatures a bit below average Thursday and Friday with highs in the upper 70s. Thunderstorms possible both days. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 74.
Michael Devine, broadcasting live.
Winning Olympic gold. More from the Iowa Almanac in a moment. From the small town of Williams, Iowa to the National Basketball Hall of Fame. It's been quite a career for Al McCoy, and he shares it with you in his book, The Real McCoy. It's our featured book this week at TotallyIowa.com. From his beginnings at Drake University and Iowa radio stations to being the voice of the NBA Phoenix Suns for more than 40 years, this book is sure to appeal to a variety of readers. Get your copy of The Real McCoy today at TotallyIowa.com. Over the past few years, you've heard a lot about the 1976 Olympic gold medalist in the decathlon for reasons other than sports. But while training and attending Graceland College in Lamoni, he was known as Bruce Jenner. Jenner actually attended Graceland on a football scholarship, but had to stop playing due to a knee injury. Graceland track coach L.D. Weldon saw his athletic potential, though, and Jenner began training for the decathlon, making his debut in the event in the 1970 Drake Relays. And after graduating from Graceland the following year, continued his training, all the while aiming his sights at Montreal in 1976.
So Bruce Jenner has hit the world record in the decathlon sideways. The crowd on its feet roaring.
Jenner racked up 8,616 points in the 1976 games, smashing the world record he had just set at the U.S. Olympic trials by nearly 100 points. Today's generation knows Jenner for reality television shows and publicly discussing gender identification. But it was Graceland alum Bruce Jenner who won Olympic gold and the title of world's greatest athlete on this date in 1976. And that's Iowa Almanac for July 30th. I'm Jeff Stein.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 5 3/4 to $4.11 1/4. December down 6 cents to $4.21. March down 5 3/4 to $4.31. May down 5 1/4 to $4.35 1/2. August soybeans down 7 cents to $8.78 3/4. September down 7 1/4 to $8.84 1/4. November down 7 1/2 to $8.96 3/4. January down 7 1/2 to $9.10. September wheat down 6 1/4 to $4.97 1/4. Soybean meal down $3.90 a ton at $300.30. August live cattle down 55 at 108.10. October down 37 cents at 109.07. August feeder cattle up 80 cents at 143.10. September up 122 at 144.05. August lean hogs down $2.12 to 82.30, and October down $2.45 to $74. I'm Dwayne Murley.
It's sweet corn season. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Think of sweet corn as human food. Most of the corn grown in the United States, known as field corn, is used to feed livestock. But sweet corn is just that, sweet and juicy and delicious. Sweet corn is a source of potassium, which helps keep blood pressure at healthy levels, magnesium, which helps build and maintain strong bones, and fiber, which helps control cholesterol and keeps you regular. Sweet corn is also a source of folate, which might reduce the risk of heart disease. Folate is recommended for women, which helps lower the risk of delivering a baby with neural tube defects. The University of Missouri Extension says to choose sweet corn that has fresh-looking green husks and well-developed kernels. What's the best way to handle sweet corn when you get it home? Refrigerate it. When you're ready to cook it, you have to shuck the corn if it's still in the husks. Pull the husk down and snap off the stem at the base. To remove the silk, run the ear in a circular direction under cold running water or use a vegetable brush. You can cook sweet corn in boiling water for 4 minutes. You can put it on the grill after brushing with oil and herbs if you like. You can cut corn off the cob and use it in recipes like corn souffle. And you can make a fresh corn salad by cooking the fresh kernels on a tray in the oven for 5 minutes at 425, combined with fresh chopped vegetables and salad dressing. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Hi, everyone. Al Roker here. As a guy with his own catchphrase, I appreciate that after 75 years, Smokey's only said,
"Only you can prevent wildfires."
But I'm filling in because there's a lot more to report. Like when it's dry or windy. Be careful burning yard waste, because wildfires can even start in your neck of the woods. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket, you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love and make the difference of a lifetime.
Grandma, this card asks, what's your favorite family tradition?
Christmas would be my favorite. You know how we use the special tablecloth and all the fancy dishes?
And those cookies you always make.
Should we whip up a batch and bake some together now?
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today. It will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer, I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. And he says, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester. And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Michael Devine, broadcasting live.
That's right, broadcasting live. I'm alive here. I have a pulse and everything. Yeah, I cannot hear that old Red Skelton piece enough, really. It wouldn't be a pity if Under God was removed. Give some court somewhere a chance and they'll do it. Give some court somewhere a chance and they will do it. The 9th District actually took that up some years ago, and it's been so long ago that Tom Daschle of South Dakota was the Senate Majority Leader. And Daschle and others just burned down the 9th District. They calmed down a little bit after that. But I have no doubt that some lawless court, and that's exactly what I'm saying, lawless court, will issue an edict that none of us can argue with ever, because we have this wonderful independent judiciary that will tell us under God must be removed from the pledge. Well, it's religious, and there's this wall of separation. Wall of separation was never in the Constitution, never intended to be part of our lives. It was actually the term wall of separation between the church and state was from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote, and that phrase has been taken out of context years and years and years now. But we buy into these things. We get convinced. I mean, the dominant media culture, and that's what I'm talking about, the dominant media culture, the type of culture that can resurrect an old charlatan like Al Sharpton and create Donald Trump, for that matter, because they are both media creations. The type of culture that can produce those two, the type of dominant media culture that can produce those two, can convince us that we are powerless before court. Powerless before court. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and if you would like to question or comment anything I've said today, it's 515-955-1400. I don't know. I haven't heard anything else about that tragedy on the railroad tracks out by the prison. I've asked if this guy wasn't an escaped prisoner, this young man from Council Bluffs wasn't an escaped prisoner, but I from what I've heard, that hasn't been the case. So just awfully unusual. And I may be behind the curve here. Although I try to keep up on the news. It's awfully unusual, I think, that a young man from Council Bluffs is found out by the tracks, out by the prison, for God's sake. I don't know what he was doing out there. I don't know. I haven't heard that anybody does. If you have an update on the young man killed on the railroad tracks out by the prison there, 515-955-1400. Educate me, if no one else. 515-955-1400. How'd that guy get there? What do they think happened? This is a story that I hope is false, but the Associated Press has discovered a secretive network within the Catholic Church. No formal affiliation, apparently. That helps people. This association, this group, helps people dealing with child sexual harassment. They offer money and legal assistance. They help people relocate. They say they want to do anything they can to help the victims. The problem is the victims in their mind are the accused priests. Opus Bono Sacerdoti apparently is a group with no formal affiliation with the accused priests. But for 2 decades, from my understanding, according to the Associated Press, the group has operated out of a series of unmarked buildings in rural Michigan, providing money, shelter support, legal help, and other support to hundreds or maybe even thousands of Catholic priests accused of sexual abuse across the country. Opus Bono focuses on what it considers the neglected victims. Again, that's the priests and the church itself. I can't disagree more. I grew up in the Catholic Church. The church, first of all, protected these people. There is a terrible rot in the Catholic Church. There is an evil in the Catholic Church that must be purged. I don't think the priests can do it. I don't think the priests are capable of it. I think the fraternity in the priesthood is too strong. They simply must protect the church. And in doing so, they have damaged the church immeasurably. The founder of Opus Bono, or Bono, B-O-N-O, is a man by the name of Joe Maher. And he said in a radio interview that all of these people that have made allegations are very well taken care of. The priests are not very well taken care of. Well, the priests should be in jail. Let's not forget that. The priests should be in jail if these charges are true. The Opus Bono client list is confidential, but its promotional brochures say it has helped over 8,000 priests. My God, 8,000 priests. The Michigan Attorney General, though, estimates the real number is 1,000. God, 1,000 is appalling. 1,000 is appalling. One of the reasons we even know about this group is because the 27-year-old daughter of one of the co-founders, Mary Rose Maher, wrote to Michigan's Attorney General in 2017 to let him know about the financial misconduct within this nonprofit. The Assistant Attorney General of Michigan at the time, a man named William Bloomfield, was a Catholic himself. And that has been a problem, certainly in Ireland until very recently. There would be a claim of abuse. And in some of the Catholic orphanages, it's just chilling to hear the type of treatment that children in those orphanages received. Somehow, since they were the product of sex outside of marriage, they were evil in the eyes of some of the nuns. And the old Irish nuns, I believe it. I had Irish nuns in school. They weren't a pleasant bunch of individuals. And if some allegation or some complaint was made to the police in Ireland, and sometimes in this country, a lot of times in this country, and the authorities were led by Catholic police officers, investigators, they would call the church. they would call the church. I want you to consider what that meant to young children who had gotten the word out that they were being beaten or starved or even molested, that the police officers that they were fortunate enough to get some sort of allegation to would then call the church, because the church were an authority to the officers, independent of law enforcement. I'm just staggered. I'm just staggered by this. And I have, full disclosure here. This was written by Herman Mehta on a blog called The Friendly Atheist. Yes, these people have no time for the Catholic Church at all. However, they do quote the Associated Press as doing the work, the investigative work that exposed Opus Bono. The investigation led to a settlement that saw the outing of the co-founders of Opus Bono, the entire board of directors being replaced, and a $10,000 reimbursement for the cost to the state. But the group apparently continues to function. It was essentially a slap on the wrist. While Joe Maher is no longer allowed to run the group or any nonprofit in Michigan, he has since created a virtually identical group in Indiana. And I can't even pronounce the name of the group. Men of Melchizedek. I wish Father Bain was still here. I'd ask him what that means. Both the groups have the same lawyer. Again, that is a terrible stain on the church. It's 4 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Like it's been trying to break through with a message of pragmatism, the only Democratic candidate to win statewide office in a place where President Trump won in 2016. Steve.
Thanks, Jared. Unfazed by allegations of racism,
I am the least racist person there is anywhere in the world.
President Trump defending his criticism of a prominent black congressman.
President not backing down one bit in his feud with Elijah Cummings. The president this morning on his way to Jamestown blaming Cummings, at least in large part, for what he says is the decline of Baltimore, saying that the city has been beset by corruption.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. Wall Street finishing the day in red territory.
Thanks to ongoing China trade woes, along with a potential looming Federal Reserve rate cut. The Dow closing down 23 points, the S&P and the Nasdaq pulling back from last week's record highs, both closing in the red. Under Armour stock, though, is getting hammered. It closed down almost 12%. The company's outlook is what has investors worried. The athletic company predicts sales will fall in North America as it ramps up a focus on athleisure and women's apparel.
The Fox Business Network's Christina Partsinevelos at the New York Stock Exchange. The body of notorious gangster John Dillinger is expected to be exhumed in September, but that's a challenge because his grave is encased in concrete. Authorities hope digging Dillinger up will put to rest conspiracy theories that someone else is buried there. This is Fox News.
When the sand gets hot, you gotta move fast, like a dog chasing a frisbee. Move just as fast to the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Because for the first time ever, you can get 20% estimated savings on select Ford vehicles. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Don't let this hot deal on America's best-selling brand pass you by. Get into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Based on 2010 through 2018 calendar year sales. Moda must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
A Walmart employee accused of killing 2 co-workers at a store in Mississippi.
The 2 people shot and killed by the gunman were store employees. South Haven Police Chief Macon Moore says officers searched and found the gunman in a parking area. After shooting one of the officers, Chief Moore said the shooter encountered a second cop.
He was struck twice by gunfire
from our officer.
The shooter was then arrested and taken to a hospital. South Haven Mayor Darren Musselwhite says his city's officers were prepared for this very recently.
Chief said literally within 10 days, we had an active shooter training event.
The mayor now says the shooter was a disgruntled employee. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
California Governor Gavin Newsom calling for tougher gun laws on a national level after a mass shooting at a festival in Gilroy.
We can only do it for our state, and then we got to fight in the courts. So we got to fight these organized national rifles. So, but then you got an entire party, it seems, completely bankrupt with no capacity. Now, and don't claim to be compassionate.
A 19-year-old fatally shot 3 people and wounded a dozen others before police killed him. A lawsuit filed against Capital One for a data breach affecting more than 100 million customers.
The FBI says a former tech worker is responsible for the breach. They arrested Paige Thompson, who used to work for Amazon in Seattle. The hacker got access to Social Security and bank account numbers, as well as addresses, phone numbers, and dates of birth. All of the data stored on Amazon's cloud service.
The Fox Business Network's Grady Trimble, New York's Attorney General, opening an investigation into the breach. 2 TSA employees suspended because of an offensive display in a baggage screening area at Miami International Airport. The agency saying it does not tolerate racist behavior, but did not provide details about the display. It reportedly included a noose and 2 monkeys. The mayor of Miami-Dade praising the TSA for taking swift action. I'm Steve Rappaport, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office or visit iowaworks.gov. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast.
Highs level off around 77 this afternoon under mainly clear skies. Winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 57 tonight. High of 78 tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies. Temperatures a bit below average Thursday and Friday with highs in the upper 70s. Thunderstorms possible both days. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 74.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when our services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call us for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Is it time for a new roof, or did your roof take a beating from Mother Nature? If so, here's some great advice from Hahn Roofing. When you're trying to decide on a contractor, never tolerate high-pressure sales tactics. Never sign a contract without a price. Never make a payment until your job is done. And never accept a job that is not installed to manufacturer specifications. No warranty, no deal. Make the right choice. Call Hahn Roofing today at 515-573-7440. That's 515-573-7440. Hahn Roofing and Owens Corning Platinum Contractor.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. This is the Divine Intervention at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Joining me now is the power behind the throne. The city council, the mayor, they're just figureheads. David Feerick runs everything. For God's sake, give more power to David Feerick. Maybe we'll get something done around here. David, how you doing, buddy?
You've had too much caffeine this afternoon,
I
Mike.
haven't. I've even had a little sugar, which is unusual for me because I have that type 2 diabetes going on. And sugar gets me cranked pretty
Well,
fast.
okay, yeah, you've had a little sugar then.
Well, years ago when I did rock and roll radio, I did rock and roll radio around the country. I was in North Carolina, Arkansas, Wisconsin. And I'd get on the air and go, hey, 605 at K-Rock or whatever radio station I was on. And people would see me in the community. How do you sound so up at that time of day? You know, we're just getting that. We're just trying to get our eyes open. And there you are talking a mile a minute. And I would give them my secret, a great big 16-ounce coffee and a giant jelly donut.
Yeah.
And by the time I got on the air, my eyes were wide open.
And then you crashed 2 hours later.
Oh yeah. By 10:30 in the morning, I was sitting in a chair, just whoa, what just happened? You know. Unfortunately, I was much younger man in those days, so I could handle it.
Yeah, were you like Dr. Johnny Fever or something like that?
Was I like Dr. Johnny Fever? I don't think so. I think my heroes at the time were Larry Lujak with WLS in Chicago. Don Imus was a biggie back when he was a disc jockey before he revealed himself to be, just kind of a dumb redneck. But those guys, I suppose.
So when I was a little kid and first figured out radio, I lived in Champaign, Illinois, and we could get WLS because
absolutely.
And Larry Lujak did animal stories.
Animal stories all the time.
Larry Lujak, and was it Little Tommy or something like that?
Uncle Tommy,
Uncle Tommy.
Cousin Tommy.
They actually released an album.
They did.
Animal stories. Those things were so fun.
They did. And they were all stories concerning human beings and animals from around the country. And Larry had that great distinctive way of telling the story. The horse that had just been punched in the face reacted badly, kicked the barn door down, and I tell you, it's one of those things you have to do there. Art Roberts was on in the nighttime, and I got to meet Art and work with him a little bit. And Chuck, what was Chuck's name? He went over to Minneapolis radio for a long time. But those are the guys I still remember with an old. Now this is before your time. Still remember listening to a transistor radio and listen, and I'd take it to bed with me at night. I wasn't supposed to have it in there, but I'd listen to those far off AM radio stations.
Yeah.
WLS was a big regional station, would just come in loud and clear, and there was another one, WLW in Cincinnati, I think.
Well, and WGN was another big one out of Chicago.
WGN was a big one. They were mostly a talker.
Yeah.
Group,
my parents listened to that all the time.
Yeah.
I listen to that all the time.
Wally, what was his name in the morning? He was
Wally Phillips.
Wally Phillips, that's him. Yeah. He was
And
there for quite a long time.
There was another guy that my parents listened to all the time. That was on nonstop in my house. But they're both from Chicago, so
Yeah.
they kept connected even downstate with those
Mm-hmm.
stations out of Chicago.
Yeah, yeah. WGN had the Cub games, and of course there was an agreement with some of the Iowa radio stations to carry the Cub games through WGN. Now, you weren't supposed to hear the WGN call letters during the game, but it always happened. There's WGN Chicago, and boom, wait, it's WHO Chicago, or whatever radio station. it
Well,
was.
and then WGN had a television station, and we finally got cable TV in Champaign sometime, I want to say late 70s, early 80s, and WGN was one of those channels we got, and they had the Cubs on every day during the summer, and we were young kids and doing paper routes, and it was an afternoon paper, so we'd fold our papers, watch the first couple innings of the Cubs, go deliver our papers, come back and watch the other Cubs every day.
Yeah.
That's how I became a Cub fan, just watching the Cubs all the time.
The Fort Dodge Messenger was an afternoon paper for quite a long time, and I wish they still were, actually. I was a Des Moines Tribune newspaper carrier, which was the afternoon edition of the Des Moines Register, really, an updated version of the Register. But, of course, those afternoon dailies are long gone, which is unfortunate. Now I still get the Des Moines paper online, and they have midday reports, PM reports, and all this sort of thing. But it's just not the same as getting a newspaper to a guy my age, It isn't. It really isn't.
Yeah, I get all my news just on the Messenger online, or check out whatever I can get for free from the Register or KCCI, all on the apps on my phone.
Yeah. No, I wanted to be one of those radio guys.
Yeah.
Never got to Chicago. I thought I would, but I didn't. I stayed pretty much in Fort Dodge, actually. Little Chicago's the best I ever got. So what's going on over at the city there, David?
Well, yeah, I was like, before we got on the air, I was telling you, not a whole lot. This is kind of like the quiet time. We don't have any council meetings now till August 2nd. We because yesterday was the 5th Monday, and we only meet the 2nd and 4th Mondays.
Be careful what you say now, because Menke is listening, and he'll be here tomorrow. Of course, he's just a councilman.
Yeah. Well,
you're the power.
It doesn't mean we're not working. There's just not a whole lot of stuff that's out there for that's interesting publicly right now.
Well,
It's
the
all behind
streets are
scenes work.
always interesting. Are we getting a lot of street work done?
We are getting a lot of street work done. We're getting 22nd Street is probably not going to be open this week, but next week it should be open and done and repainted and 3 lanes and all that set up. So that'll be cool. I know the schools are interested in make sure that's open before school starts. So when we're busy lane striping, we do that towards the later part of summer.
Sure.
We're doing more work on Williams Drive, going farther up the road and fixing more concrete. That's got a couple pieces out right now, and I think probably doing that the remainder of this week and probably some in the next week. Don't know the status of 8th Avenue South right now, but we're going to continue. We usually continue street work as long as we can.
Do we have an update on the Crossroads Mall situation, specifically the old Sears building? Is there anything going on there? Or
I
mean, we put in all those great streets out there. It looks terrific out there. And I know that specifically with the Sears building, there was some conversation about perhaps doing something there. Do we have any updates as to what's happening there in the mall?
I don't have a status report from the last time we talked about it. I mean, the Sears owners are wanting the city to enter into that agreement where we would rebate their TIF and they'll pay for the demolition, and then they have a potential project online for another business to go in there. And then there'll probably be several businesses that won't be adjacent to each other, like a strip mall, like what was planned a couple of years ago with Hutton, but more independent businesses, maybe a couple on, they'll probably be either a private drive or some sort of street, kind of going probably right through where the Sears would be now to make that connection. So we'll see a couple businesses there. So I think we talked about it a little bit this morning. I think we're going to have a public hearing again on that project this coming in the 12th. So I can confirm that maybe next week what we got planned for the meet on the 12th regarding the Sears in that mall area.
Well, you started out by saying that this was the plan that the company would like to have TIF to tear down the building and then that sort of thing. Has that plan been approved, or are you telling me you're going to have a meeting shortly to talk about approving it, or things move slow in government? I know.
Well, things do move slow and methodical in government. I know we don't have a formal development agreement approved with them. I think we did a resolution of intent, and that have to
resolution. What
is
a resolution of intent?
That basically is the council saying, hey, we have to schedule, because the council has to go through a process. There's a formal process to do these things, and some of those require public hearings and considerations like that. Now, what cities will sometimes do when they're working on a deal with a private entity is say, hey, here's our intent to do this. We still have to go through these formal processes, but our intent is that we agree to go this route. They can't like sort of pre-vote on something, but it's a way for the private developer to know that is their concept even worth pursuing through the whole formal process of hearings and meetings and all the stuff that it requires for that.
Is there any way we can just bypass the council on this? I don't know. No, we have to.
We are a democracy.
Oh, really?
I am not a dictator.
Aren't you?
No.
But if you say you want it, they're going to lock heels, right? All except Minky. He'll have questions.
I do what the majority of the council wants done.
Is that right?
Yes.
You talk to him, though, don't you?
I do.
You talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you say things like, do this or I'm going to hurt you?
I will break you.
I will break you. I am Drago.
No.
All right. Okay. Well, I was just wondering. I mean, I think that would be kind of cool if you did, really. Love to see the look on a couple of their faces over there if that happened.
I think they'd probably look for another city manager.
You think they would?
If I tried that approach.
Well, you just tell them you refuse to be fired. Don't give any stuff. I'll body slam you. Break out. Did you ever watch pro wrestling? Were you a pro wrestling guy when you were a kid?
I did a long time ago, back in the day when you had like Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan.
There you go.
And,
so you learned a few moves. So you could, body slam council people during the meeting. That would be so great.
Those aren't real moves. That's all.
I know they are, but a body slam is close enough. You could body slam somebody. Come on.
That's all. Just
don't body slam Dean.
Acrobats. Acrobatics.
Well, it is, and I was, I was the referee, not a referee, but the ring announcer a few times around the country, really, and that Eric. Oh gosh, he was in all the Eric Bischoff. I knew him way back in the day, and he liked to get me for announcer for some of the events in Northern Iowa, Southern Minnesota. Yeah. And I would go, and Larry Zabisco would show up and say some of these guys. And anyway, the point being, I would get in and announce, and I say, in this corner here's Larry Zabisco, and in this corner here's Baron von Raschke or whoever. Yeah. And they would start fighting, and they would talk to each other while they're wrestling. Like, I'm going to throw you over here. Okay, here we go. On the way they'd go.
On 3, 1, 2.
That's exactly. They'd sometimes do that. Yeah. Okay, get ready. 1, 2. See it up close. It's really not very hard, but it is hard to fake. And I've noticed this. Hard to fake a body slam, because if you pick somebody up on your shoulder and heave them, even though there's a lot of flexibility in the ring. Those guys would get up and have a big red mark on their back. But the trick was never to land on their head or their feet or something, to land on their shoulder blades.
Well,
it's a rough. Those guys. It's rough entertainment.
Yeah, it's rough acrobats. I mean, I wrestled in high school, and when you see these body slams where the guy grabs the other guy, and right before he goes to do the move, the other guy jumps up. Well, that's the opposite of what you do in wrestling. Yeah. You sink down to try to avoid being thrown. These guys were assisting in the body slam.
Oh, those pinfalls are the most ridiculous thing I ever saw. I used to think to myself, you get a professional, real wrestler in there, and these guys would be pinned flat in no time at all. But then you meet a few of them,
So how does the referee know what is the real pinfall? Does he know, okay, we're going to pin so-and-so at such and such time?
Oh, that's usually predetermined. 9 out of 10 times it's predetermined. And, of course, the ref's in there. And sometimes you see the ref in there. This I noticed right away. The ref would be some guy would have the other guy in the corner beating on him, and the ref would be patting him on the shoulder like this is illegal. He'd be counting supposedly and talking to the guy. He wasn't talking to the guy at all. He was moving his lips, He was just, and he wasn't counting necessarily. He was just moving his lips so it appeared he was talking.
It was hysterical.
I was very disappointed to find out it was fake. But I think I took my son, and he was about 6 years old at the time. He loved the whole thing. So
Yeah.
he loved the whole thing. Gosh, who did we see in Des Moines one time? That Jerry, the guy that slapped Andy. Oh gosh, Jerry the King Lawler. That's who it was. He was on David Letterman. He slapped that comedian that died earlier, Andy Kaufman.
Oh. Yeah, because I remember Andy Kaufman got into some of that weird wrestling stuff.
He was the intergender wrestling champion. Andy Kaufman had something going. He would want to wrestle fairly well-known women, nice-looking women. Of course, the women would kind of go along with it, ha, ha, ha. Well, he'd really be rough with them, and throw them around and pin them and wring their necks and everything. And they're getting up, and their hair's all messed up, and they're all beat up, and they wonder what the heck just happened,
He had the most bizarre comedy.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd get out on the stage and lay there for an hour. He'd never do anything, just lay there in his sleeping bag, just to see the audience reaction. Wow.
Crazy stuff.
Anyway, I am babbling away about professional wrestling. I want to get back to that Sears building just for a second because I don't want to miss it. When is the public hearing on this now?
What is it, August 12th?
August
Is that
12th?
Yeah, I think the hearing
Is that a
August
council
12th.
meeting? Or?
Yeah, that's our council meeting. So, yeah, I think we're up on the 12th. I'll confirm what at least next week what we got planned for the 12th.
I got a lot of my guests are out. Reverend Hill Pastor Hill is gone over the First Presbyterian, and Chief Porter, of course, is recuperating from his knee surgery. Is that knee surgery that he's got? Yeah. Well, he's supposed to be gone at least through this month, and maybe into next month. I'll have to text him
Maybe he's
later.
trying to get out of doing your show for a while.
Well, and then I think Mayor Bemrick is not going to be able to be on the show next week, and maybe the week after that. I don't know. I think Roger is gone another week. Roger Porter, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it'll be all Mike all day.
Yeah.
All Mike all day.
Hey, so one thing we could talk about, the city is still doing the broadband study. Which so you can access that by going to the city's website, fort-iowa.org, or the city's Facebook page. We're looking for customer input, and it's a survey about your current broadband services, how it's going, what you like, what you dislike, and then part of the survey is also doing like a speed test at your residence. So,
Right.
So we've gotten great results so far, but we'd love to get a lot more.
I'm going to tell you right now, I want the city to get into the broadband business. I know people like MediaCom are probably freaking out, but let them freak out. They've been gouging us for years. So, I think Spencer was always a forward-thinking little town, and it could have been because for 10 years they had Dan Payne as city manager up there,
Yeah.
And they have their own municipal utilities, and they have their own broadband as well. And they have had for years, and it's been a big boon to their community.
Yeah, and the rural areas around Fort Dodge basically have rural telephone cooperatives that have been able to invest and reinvest in their infrastructure, and they have fiber to the home in most places. And that's kind of what we're looking at here is what would it take to have a broadband system that would be fiber to the home. They give you blazing speeds and incredible reliability. And, is it worth it? Are people willing to pay for it? And, does it make sense? Not to say that it's going to be a city run system or a public utility. It may be a public-private partnership with either of our incumbent providers or somebody new or whatever. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways this could be done, but I mean, the council made it a strategic initiative that we look into improving the broadband services. And so this was the first step in there is to see what our conditions are, where the reaction is of the customers. Would they be willing to go to a service like this if it's offered, and then kind of a first cut at what would it cost for something like this. So
Yeah.
get all that information together, and then the council will have to make a decision on how to proceed in the next step with this process.
When I was in North Carolina years ago, I had Nature Boy Ric Flair on the air with me. That was so cool.
You're just back to pro wrestling.
I'm way
I'm
back.
trying
there.
to get it back on me.
I just these names just pop out. He was
Nature Boy.
Nature Boy Ric Flair, and he was promoting a match in the area, and he had his opponent with him in the studio. And for the life of me, I can't think of who his opponent was, but in those days, we had to take transmitter readings every 4 hours. And it was an FCC log, and we had to take real close care of it. Well, I had my log near Ric Flair. It was on a clipboard, and he picked it up and cracked the other guy across the head with it. Bam! Broke the clipboard, and the papers just flew, and I went,
no, I need that.
Yeah, I really, I could have given you something else. Here's a pop bottle, anything. We still had pop bottles in it. He just bang, hit him right in the forehead. I just about died. And then he left the room. Woo! He leaves. He breaks the clipboard over this guy's head and leaves. Man, I'm sorry. No, we were talking city business. So I'm all in for broadband. Why wouldn't be? What are the benefits of broadband to the city customers?
Well, so you have broadband. By definition, you have it now through Mediacom and Frontier.
We don't want it.
Okay, well, so that's what the surveys to find out is what is the customer experience with the incumbent providers, and if there were a third provider, what is the willingness for people to consider that, and then again, the second part of this pre-feasibility study is what's something like that going to cost the city to do, and does that data kind of show that, hey, this is something we want to consider going to the next step? I mean, obviously you've shared your opinion, others may have the opinion that, hey, I love what I got, I'm not switching. And if if that's predominantly the case, then we realize, okay, well, maybe the stuff the council's been hearing over the years anecdotally, hey, we need faster speeds, we need more reliability, maybe that's just isolated cases, or is this really system wide, and we have to work on improving that one way or the other.
Okay.
So no, I think
what would be the cost associated with city broadband? Do you have
the
a
whole
figure?
system?
Do you have a figure in your head?
Well, I think they're kind of I don't know, called rule of thumb cost. It's about $2,000 a drop. So 10,000 drops, you're at $20 million.
Yeah,
probably.
Right.
Maybe more, depending on how much other stuff is in there. So yeah, it's not cheap, but what you got to look at is what would your revenue be, and what would your return on investment, and does it make sense to do? Looking at it from a standpoint, okay, this isn't going to be something that the taxpayers are going to use. It's not going to, tax money is not going to pay for this. It has to be a standalone utility. It has to, it's not going to take tax money to subsidize. It's not going to take other utility money to subsidize. It's going to stand alone and go on its own. And can we do that?
Well, Trump got some money for his border wall. Everybody's screaming.
Did he?
Yes, he did. He took it out of the Defense Department or something.
Oh.
And there's cries for reparations all over the country. I think maybe we need to deserve reparations as well, and get our own broadband. Reparations for Fort Dodge.
Well, there is federal money for broadband in rural areas, but again, the federal definition for broadband is not very much. We exceed.
What do you
those.
mean the definition? Is
well, like how much speed you have is like, I don't know if it's 1 gig down or 1 meg, sorry, down. So that's nothing. I mean, that's a pretty low speed for like Fort Dodge, but maybe in rural areas, obviously not around here, because the rural areas around here are blazing fast speeds, but
I was going to say that's. But thank you for that, because I know that what is in Gowrie? What do they have there? Here it is.
Oh, they have
the Webster Calhoun Cooperative Telephone Association.
Oh yeah, well you got in that. If you're in that, you got fiber to your home. So,
that's right.
You're screaming.
And here we are in Fort Dodge, still back in the dark age.
Good old copper.
Yeah, copper. I should have Marcy Borner up here again. She was the office manager over there. Yeah, gosh, why does Gowrie have that and we don't? So is somebody getting paid or something?
They have a locally owned telephone cooperative that is reinvesting.
That's right.
All their money back into the community.
We're sure as hell not going to do that, are we? We're taking a profit for ourselves. Years ago, I was the chairman of the Cable Commission.
Back when we could do something about it.
No, not really. Not much. When I told the story several times. I was chairman of the. I thought, okay, I'm really cool. I'm going to be the chairman of the Cable Commission. The only thing we could do was take input and then report it to the council.
Yeah.
So the input I was taking was, why the hell isn't my cable doing? Just people are ticked off at the cable company.
Well, they'd get ticked off, and then they'd say, well, why can't you provide this channel? It's like, well, municipalities can't regulate channel lineup. Well, why can't you do this? We can't regulate that. I mean,
No, we can't. But if we had our own, we'd have a much better shot at doing that.
Yeah, well, if you have your own, then you can do that.
Mm-hmm. So I think we need to get the word out. This needs to get done.
Then you could have a local access channel, have like Wayne's World on there.
There we go, man. All those things. Now you're going back in time.
Yeah.
No, I think if people understood what they could gain, they would, and comparatively speaking, with other providers, as you say, I think we've been hedged in too long with very little competition in this regard. And competition, I think, is always healthy. I mean, there's 7 radio stations in this building.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, competition is always healthy for everyone. It makes everyone bring out their A game.
That's right. That's right. Be a little sharper, be a little bit more responsive.
Yeah.
Speaking of responsive, we talked last week about the owner of the old Biltwell Hotel down here, Biltwell Apartments or whatever it is now. And he had some complaints. I checked around on it a little bit. It appeared that he wasn't so unhappy with the police department, but he was unhappy with his dispatcher. Are we doing something with IXP? Are we moving forward with the process?
Yeah, that's been approved. I don't know when it actually becomes formally switched over to IXP, but yeah, that's
is IXP working here with us, or are they in the training?
Yeah, we're in that transition time. I don't know if that switch been not a switch. That's the wrong word, because some people are going to literally think it's switched over. Now the dispatcher's out in New Jersey. No, IXP is in the process of getting all the local folks hired. The lead dispatcher is the current lead dispatcher, so that's not changing, and getting all that worked out. I don't have a specific date of when the formal switch over is going to be. But
okay,
it's going to be soon, so we're going to get that worked out. And I didn't participate in a meeting but Chief Porter did have a meeting with the owner of the Biltwell, and they went over a lot of his concerns and what we can do and what we can't do as far as police and prosecution of certain things that he thinks should have been prosecuted that we just don't think could have been. And then what level of service the city police can provide, in a private apartment building too, is try to work out so there's a common understanding what that can be.
Is there anything you want to say to Menke? Because he usually bases his conversation with me on what you said the day before. So I don't have Allstott anymore for him to correct. So
Well, I hope Terry's not correcting me, but Terry's usually well informed.
He's well informed.
So
that guy is the doctor of research.
Yes, he is.
If I need to find something out, Menke can find it out for me pretty fast. I don't mean about the city. I mean, you city guys are pretty tight-lipped about a lot of things. Don't tell Divine to be barking about it for a month. But if I need to find out something about science or the natural world, Menke is always
he's
there.
on it. Yeah,
he is it. Are we doing anything with Olsen Park? Are we getting anywhere with Olsen Park?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're working on the projects, the pond and stuff like that.
They are working on it. It's actively the
I don't know if the construction is that going on out there, but I can find out about that. You should give me a list ahead of time, and I'll come with
I
all
probably
their
should
answers.
text you, but I'm just a spontaneous guy.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I didn't see that blues under the trees over the weekend.
I did not. I really wish I could have been there. I was at a swim meet in Iowa
I've never
City.
seen you.
Oh, I've been there before.
Have you?
But it's been lately. It's always the same Saturday. So I bet I haven't been there probably in the last 5 years because I've always been at the state swim meet
Last weekend of July.
Yeah, and that kind of stinks because I'd much rather sit under some trees, listen to blues, and drink some beer than be at a swim meet. But
is there? Do you have somebody else in the high school swim meet now? I know your son's swimming down at the University of Iowa.
Yeah, this is a club meet, so he swam in that, and then my 2 daughters swam in the club meet too. I got a daughter who's going to be a senior at senior high, and then my younger daughter Eileen's going to be a freshman, and they'll both be swimming. So they both swam in this meet. And I was not a swimmer No,
You were not.
I was not. I swam. I played around, but
You were a pro wrestler?
Yeah.
There you go.
But my kids are swimmers.
Well, that's
Go
great.
figure.
You know, that's boy, is that great exercise, swimming.
Yeah.
It really is. And you don't get bounced around like you do in football, but man, that's difficult to do that.
Yeah, swimming doesn't have a concussion protocol.
Thank God, huh? Thank God. And you don't have to worry about getting hit in the cheek with a baseball at 90 miles an hour, I suppose, or any of those other wild things. David Furick is the city manager. Thanks for
That
being
was my
here.
wrestling name, David Merca.
There you go. Merca. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Merca will be coming for you. 439 AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. News and weather is next.
Ernie's Harley Davidson, Cactus Family Farms, and Alpha Media present our Hogs for Heroes Honor Ride Saturday, August 10th. Be at Fort Dodge Ford between 9 and 10:30 to register. Then it's kickstands up for 150 miles of wide open fun on the road. Our Hogs for Heroes stops include the Co-op Bar and Grill in Pomeroy, River Valley Orchards in Humboldt, Johnny's Bar and Grill in Wesley, the Blue Moose Saloon in Renwick, Ernie's Harley Davidson in Algona, and Miller's Landing in Humboldt, where you can listen to live music, eat great food, and bid on your favorite items in the silent auction. Entry fee is just $15 a rider or $25 a couple. All proceeds go to the Brushy Creek Honor Flight. Get a free Hogs for Heroes t-shirt while supplies last. Pre-register until August 8th at yourfortdodge.com to reserve your spot and t-shirt. This special event is sponsored in part by the Western Edge in Humboldt, Iowa Outdoor Store, Hardware and Rental, Fort Dodge, Riddle's Jewelry, Fort Dodge, and Zinnel Roofing, Humboldt. Fire up your bike, your car, your truck, even your minivan for the Hogs for Heroes Honor Ride, hosted by Ernie's Harley Davidson, Cactus Family Farms, and Alpha Media. We ride so they can fly.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office or visit iowaworks.gov. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Ford Dodge. I'm Michael Devine with the weather forecast. And by the way, the weather's just been terrific today, and it'll be terrific for the next few days. Our temperature right now under fair skies is 74 degrees. It's going to be sunny today with a high of 77. Overnight, mostly clear with a low of 57. Tomorrow, a little rain in the morning, otherwise cloudy, then becoming gradually mostly sunny with a high of 80. On Thursday, sunny with a high of 80. Friday, a chance of rain once again, mostly sunny with a high of 80. Saturday, sunny with a high of 82. On Sunday, sunny with a high of 83. And on Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 84 degrees. Right now, 74 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Ford Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South here in Ford Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Dean Konvalinka has died at the age of 69. He died on Saturday at his home. There will be a funeral service at 10 o'clock in the morning Friday here in town for Dean M. Konvalinka, 69 when he died. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucefuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 445.
From the Fox Business Network, the major averages closing mixed as U.S.-China reps get ready to restart trade talks. Investors are looking ahead for a busy week of corporate earnings results and are also awaiting for the Fed's decision on interest rates, with the Dow rising 29 points, NASDAQ down 37, S&P 500 down 5. And just like its shares, Beyond Meat sales are growing faster than expected and nearly quadrupled from a year ago. The plant-based meat maker reporting mixed second quarter earnings and revenue and raising its conservative full year 2019 revenue outlook. However, its shares plunged after hours after Beyond Meat announced a secondary stock offering of over 3.2 million shares. And shares of Dish Network falling slightly after hours after the satellite TV company lost far fewer subscribers than anticipated but fell short on earnings. And ride-hailing company Uber is reducing its marketing arm and slashing 400 jobs from its unit. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Heather Rybarski.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. In just days, Publishers Clearinghouse will award $5,000 a week for life. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. This prize is guaranteed to be awarded on August 30th, so don't miss your last chance to win. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Award day is almost here. August 30th, you could win $5,000 a week for life. Go to PCH.com now. Entries due 8/27. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 5 3/4 to $4.11 1/4. December down 6 cents to $4.21. March down 5 3/4 to $4.31. May down 5 1/4 to $4.35 1/2. August soybeans down 7 cents to $8.78 3/4. September down 7 1/4 to $8.84 1/4. November down 7 1/2 to $8.96 3/4. January down 7 1/2 to $9.10. September wheat down 6 1/4 to $4.97 1/4. Soybean meal down $3.90 a ton at $300.30. August live cattle down 55 at $108.10. October down 37 cents at $109.07. August feeder cattle up 80 cents at $143.10. September up $122 at $144.05. August lean hogs down $2.12 to $82.30, and October down $2.45 to $74. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Thrifty White Community Health Corner. It's summer.
Planning a day in the sun? Be sun smart. Skin cancer, one of the most common cancers in the U.S., but it can be prevented. Protect yourself from ultraviolet rays by wearing sunscreen on all exposed skin, even on cloudy days. Wear protective clothing along with a hat and sunglasses. Sit in the shade during midday hours and reapply sunscreen throughout the day as the effectiveness wears off over time. If you have a health question, stop in and talk with your local Thrifty White pharmacist.
Warning: if you're buried in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Answers at 800-970-5932. If you're struggling to pay off your debt, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to. Call Credit Answers now for free information on how to get out of debt faster than you ever thought possible, without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We offer a guarantee with no upfront fees, so there's no risk. For free information, visit creditanswers.com or call 800-970-5932. That's 800-970-5932.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Come on with it, Booker T and the MGs, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I know I listen to this all the time, but here's a little taste. Booker T and the MGs. All right. That's probably enough of that. This is talk radio. If I start playing too much music like that, you'll want it all the time. And then where would I be? I'd be retired somewhere, I suppose. Interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal the other day, July 26th to be specific, by Holman W. Jenkins Jr. An opinion piece called Trump, a Brawler for Democracy. A brawler for democracy. He most certainly is. As a matter of fact, the Democrats, by and large, believe they need a brawler. So what we're going to see tomorrow night during the latest Democratic Party debate will be all of those people who are going to tell us how they're going to get down in the gutter with Donald Trump. Now, Trump gets down in the gutter way more often than I wish that he would. I mean, I like it when he fights back. The refined upper middle class manners that previous presidents have had, especially Barack Obama. My God, he had it down to an art form. The refined upper middle class manners and that sort of thing I really got on my nerves. I was waiting for President Obama to do something other than be a social worker, fighting as a social worker would fight. Donald Trump is a New York guy, and he fights like a New York businessman. If you wonder why business people make a lot of money, successful business people make a lot of money, it's because they're tough people. It's because they're tough, hard-minded people. They know where their money is. They want to know if you ask them for their money, they're going to want something in return, and you better have some sort of explanation how they're going to get a return on their money. Otherwise, they don't want to talk to you. Makes it hard to sell advertising sometimes because you're selling air. But as a matter of fact, advertising, as all business people know, is crucial to their business. When I'm talking about business people, that's what always comes to mind. Selling advertising to business people, and they want to know what they're getting. Why should you get their business? What have you got for them? And they don't have all day for you to explain the wonderfulness of your product. Anyway, Donald Trump, according to Holman Jenkins, was under attack from day one from partisan and media enemies who promoted the Russian collusion theory, which seems like a bunch of nonsense, without especially caring whether it was true. And this is a key thing on the Russian collusion theory. Nobody really cared whether it was true, and they still don't. That creepy Jerry Nadler has been fighting with Trump since the 1990s. In California now, Gavin Newsom, the former mayor of San Francisco, has pushed through a law in California that if you're going to be on the presidential ballot in California, you have to release your tax returns. Guess who that's directed at? The state of New York has gone to war to force Trump to release his state tax returns. The question before a judge is now, of what value is this effort by New York State other than to embarrass the President of the United States or to get some sort of political one-up on him? It's disgraceful. The Democrats, their conduct is grotesque. They have revealed, when they're under pressure, they have revealed themselves to be ugly. They really have. I mean, this Ilhan Omar, and I shouldn't even brought her name up. I apologize. People like Gavin Newsom, people like Cuomo in New York State. They're just ugly. Don't kid yourself, by the way. The Obama veterans played and continue to play key roles in the Trump delegitimization campaign, including members of the Mueller team. Obviously, Robert Mueller wasn't running the investigation. God love Bob Mueller and brave men like him. The matter of the fact is, age takes its toll, and the real takeaway from Bob Mueller's appearance before Congress the other day was that, he's getting to be an older man, and he certainly didn't have the wherewithal to run a 2-year investigation. No, Andrew Weiss, who went to Hillary Clinton's election victory party, was the real mastermind of the Mueller report. And still, with all of that, they couldn't prove any collusion. But Jerry Nadler wanted to get Robert Mueller on record on national television saying that his report was not an exoneration. How can you prove someone is innocent? That's not our way. Mueller could have spent 4 years and twice as much money trying to prove the president's innocence. It wouldn't have worked. You just can't do it. Adam Schiff, a colossal confession of assumed guilt. His opening statement in Wednesday's hearings was disgraceful. I've been around for a while now, and I've never seen it. And I went through the Nixon years, and the cultural left hated Nixon. You know, and there were reasons to hate Nixon. There really were. He kept us in the Vietnam War and got kids killed just to make himself look better. He knew about the Watergate burglary. He knew about it in advance. He authorized break-ins and funded break-ins before Watergate. Richard Nixon was a creepy guy. He was a paranoid, creepy guy. Trump doesn't have any of those things going on. He just likes to fight, and he'll continue to fight. I don't like the way he fights sometimes, but it gets their attention. And, of course, there's no sacred cows with Donald Trump. In liberal world, you simply cannot criticize a minority, period. I don't care. And that includes transgender people or God knows what else. Trump doesn't care. He gets in there and swings. And by the way, he has a right to do that. Again, he goes too far sometimes, and I wish he wouldn't do all those things. But he does seem to be a brawler for democracy, as Holman Jenkins said the other day in the Wall Street Journal. We can't have a democracy if everyone isn't held to the same standard. The liberals always have this little safe space to go to. Well, oppressed people should not be criticized by their oppressors, or it's unfair, or it's gross, or it's this. That's all phony. It's a lie. It's designed to shut up opposition to their ideas. I mean, really, it's been said many, many times by people other than myself. But liberalism is mainly a feelings-based philosophy. It's a feelings-based philosophy. I feel this way. I feel awful. I feel guilty. I feel. Feel this, will you? God. Stop with the middle-class liberal guilt, if you please. I'm dying of boredom. Okay, that's it for today. And I want to thank you for listening. Hope I wasn't too harsh. I can be too harsh sometimes, I know. But stop thinking of your party. The founding fathers of the United States of America hated the idea of political parties. They tried to stop the formation of political parties. Their thinking was, are you ready? The founding fathers believed that if political parties were allowed to form, people would have allegiance not to the country and not to the ideals of the country, but to the party, to their party. And here we are with two political parties, and what has happened? A fanatical devotion to party and very little of any concern about the country. It's terrible, and we need to do something about it. When people tell you to choose, tell them you choose to be an American. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, this is KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
If you're a gear Under the Hood Car Show every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD.
Still separated. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The American Civil Liberties Union says hundreds of children are being separated from their families at the border. Judge's order to all but end the practice. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Lisa, the ACLU says the number of kids separated from their parents, even after that judge's order last year to reduce that number, exceeds 900. An ACLU court filing breaks down the numbers further, saying a majority of the kids' parents faced criminal allegations, had gang ties, or the kids' relationships with the adults were not verified. The ACLU says it also discovered that 1 in every 5 children split from their families were younger than 5 years old. So far, the Trump administration has not responded, Lisa.
Gernal, thanks. Debate round 2 in just about 2 hours. 10 of the Democrats running for president will hit the stage in Detroit for a debate. Another 10 will take the stage tomorrow. North Korea has fired more missiles. The North's Joint Chiefs of Staff says multiple projectiles were fired off the East Coast. Wall Street at the close. All major indexes closing slightly lower as investors look ahead to tomorrow's expected announcement from the Fed.
The Fed expected to cut interest rates for the first time since the collapse of the late 2000s. Tomorrow, quarter-point drop in the Fed funds rate is expected. But the big question is, will Jerome Powell continue to cut interest rates, or will tomorrow's cut be it? The president has criticized Powell and complained long and loud that he raised interest rates too quickly last year, which has put the United States at a competitive disadvantage by causing an overvalued dollar. The president says the United States can weather the current environment, but that he wants more cuts.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. The Dow off 23. The NASDAQ lost 19. The S&P slipped 7 points. This is Fox News.
When the sand gets hot, you gotta move fast, like a dog chasing a Frisbee. Move just as fast to the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Because for the first time ever, you can get 20% estimated savings on select Ford vehicles. Plus, earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Don't let this hot deal on America's best-selling brand pass you by. Get into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Based on 2010 through 2018 calendar year sales, Moda must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
Is Governor.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. Authorities are continuing to search for a man here in the Fort Dodge area who allegedly stole a truck in Iowa County over the weekend. Law enforcement officials believe the man is still in the area. The man was picked up on surveillance footage on Sampson Avenue over the weekend. The stolen truck was wrecked and totaled. The man then fled into a cornfield Saturday afternoon. Police searched for the man the majority of the day Sunday along Sampson Avenue and 170th Street. A description of the man has now been released. He is said to be a Caucasian, middle-aged man, approximately 6 feet tall with a heavy build. Jim Stubbs, the sheriff here in Webster County, says the man was last seen wearing a white plaid shirt and dark-colored pants. Authorities are unsure if the man is from Iowa County or not. The sheriff's office is advising for Fort Dodge residents to keep their keys out of their vehicles and keep their vehicles locked at all times. Sheriff Stubbs says if the man's hiding in a cornfield, it could be impossible to find him. Anyone with information on the suspect is asked to call the Webster County Sheriff's Office at 515-573-1410. That's 515-573-1410. A residential home over a century old has been ruled a total loss after it caught fire yesterday afternoon just north of Summers. Fire department personnel was called to 2734 York Avenue around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Farnhamville Fire Chief Jay Anderson said they got the call after the fire was already heavily developed and the structure had become unsafe shortly after being on the scene. He said the fire department had their hands full upon arrival and there wasn't much that could have been done. Firefighters were on the scene for around 3 hours. According to Chief Anderson, no one was injured, but the house is considered a total loss. Anderson said the cause and origin of the fire are unknown. After Lakeville Motor Express Trucking, or LME, abruptly closed its doors on July the 12th, Iowa Workforce Development then started to monitor stories about the closure of the business. Iowa Workforce Development immediately began an investigation as the business closed without sending a warning notice as required. That investigation is ongoing. All persons associated with LME should contact the Iowa Workforce Development for unemployment benefits. Individuals who did not receive their full pay before the business closed should contact Labor Services and file a complaint immediately. Iowa Workforce Development encourages any Iowans affected by business closures to seek assistance at the local Iowa Works office.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I am Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us. Open phones at 888-825-5225. And the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. When we did the study of 10,000 millionaires, we found that the typical millionaire pays off their home in 10.2 years. They get out of debt. So this is why we tell you not to take out a mortgage of more than 15-year fixed, where the payment is more than a fourth of your take-home pay. This is why we tell you this. Now, I know it's summertime, and I know some of you are going to open houses, and you get house fever. And let me tell you what house fever is. It's when your brain quits freaking working. And you get these little, your adrenaline starts going, your endorphins are released, your eyes are dilated, you go crazy. That's what happens. And then you go buy something that indicates that you're crazy, a house you can't afford because it's summertime and you got house fever. If you got house fever, take a cold shower or 6 of them. Do whatever you've got to do to get rid of house fever. House fever will kill you. And let me just tell you, there are people out there who will spread the disease of house fever too. You know who spreads the disease of house fever? Brokers who want to sell you a house because they want a commission. They don't care anything about you. Now, that's not all brokers, but there's types of brokers out there that are that way. Mortgage lenders who want you to get a loan, and they'll tell you anything. And they use fear tactics too. Houses are going up fast. If you don't get a house, you're not going to get a house. Oh, God, you're not going to get a house. Oh, no. And people get this thing like a beagle chasing a rabbit, man. That means you got house fever is what that means. It's dumb. You're getting ready to do something dumb. You're going to pay too much for the house. You're going to put nothing down, get you an adjustable rate mortgage, be in debt the rest of your life, and then wonder why you're broke, all because you were a beagle chasing a rabbit with house fever. Stop it. Stop it. Calm your butt down. You need to get a house. The house doesn't need to get you. Now, I don't mind you getting a house, and I don't yell at people for mortgages. It's one of the few things I don't yell at them for, but I want you to get the stupid thing paid off because that's an indicator you're going to be one of our everyday millionaires. And how you going to get it paid off? A bigger down payment and a shorter payment term, and you focus on getting it paid off. You get to your baby step 6, and you kick this thing in the butt. That's what's going on. So if you get one of those real estate agents that's trying to get you to buy a house that you can't afford, or you get one of those mortgage brokers that's getting you to buy a house you can't afford at a time you can't afford it because you still got Sally Mae hanging around, you got to buy an extra bedroom for her. You need to get out of debt, have your emergency fund in place, then have your down payment. Now, first-time home buyers, we don't tell you have to do anything on that. You have to do 15-year fixed, and you have to do house payment no more than 4th-year take-home pay. We got all that. But first-time home buyers, we know most of you are not going to put down 20%. If you do, it's great. And why do we tell you to put down 20%? 20% down is because it saves you on PMI. PMI stands for private mortgage insurance. If you don't put down 20%, they make you buy insurance that gives them money in the event they have to foreclose on you and you didn't have enough down payment to cover them. It's foreclosure insurance that pays the lender and you buy it. And it's $75 per 100,000 per month. So if you borrow, $200,000, $150 a month on your payment if you don't put down 20%. Just to buy insurance, foreclosure insurance that pays the mortgage company in the event they have to foreclose on you. That's private mortgage insurance. That's what it is. And you never do an FHA loan, too expensive. You never do a VA loan, even more expensive. Bad loans, you're going to do a Fannie Mae conventional loan. Now, then you save up and you save up and you save up. How do you save up? Well, you're out of debt. You don't have any payments because you're baby step 3B. If you don't have any payments, you don't have any debt payments at all, and you're on a tight budget and your thing is save up for a house payment, you'll be amazed how fast you can save up. Calm your butt down. Slow down. I don't want you to be a renting. I'm wasting money. I just feel like I'm burning money. You have house fever when you talk like that. I don't want you to be a renter for 50 years, but I do want you to be a renter for the next year while you get your freaking act together so that this house is a blessing and not a curse. That's what we're doing. So if you want to work with an agent to buy a house in a hot market that understands what I just did in the last 10 minutes, you just go to DaveRamsey.com/agents, or just the front page of this of DaveRamsey.com. Look on our ELPs, endorsed local providers for real estate agents. These are high octane, high protein agents that have agreed as part of the vetting process to not only have the heart of a teacher, but to also not tell you to buy a house when you're broke. They follow the principles that we're teaching here. They actually have your best interest, not their wallet's best interest in mind. They know that if they take care of you and you buy a home in such a way that the home is a blessing, you'll probably be a customer for life. And that's how they've built their huge businesses, these wonderful high-octane real estate agents that actually know what the flip they're doing. But your Aunt Sally over at the church, old George over at the church, the friend of your mama's, all she wants is a commission. That's why she got in the business. She multiplied that commission rate times those sale prices, and her eyes got big. She went past her real estate test, and now she's an agent. And that's all the flip she knows about it, too. He knows about it, too. So you need to get somebody who knows what they're doing, has your best interest at heart, and has built a large book of business by doing the right thing for the customer, helping you, making sure you're on baby step 3B, that you're putting a good down payment down. I'd like for it to be 20%. I just explained to you why. It doesn't affect me. I'm not getting any of the money. I don't care what you do. I don't own a PMI company. I don't own an anti-PMI company. I'm a teacher. I'm teaching you that this crap is expensive. So it's better to put down a good, strong down payment of 20% or more. But sometimes on your first home, you're 27 years old, you're just getting going. You know, you may buy a home with 10% down. You may have PMI for a few years too. You get that thing paid down and get it dropped, get the PMI dropped. That's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you about that. But don't take out more than a 15-year. That means you got house fever. Don't take out anything other than a fixed rate. That means you got house fever. And don't work with some real estate agent that doesn't know what the flip they're doing, because you don't have enough backbone to look at your mother's bridge partner and say no. No, instead, once you get somebody who actually knows what the flip they're doing and has your best interest at heart, we vet them. They're called endorsed local providers. Check them out at DaveRamsey.com. Over the years, I've seen so many families suffer by not having life insurance. It's not that they didn't care. It's just that they didn't know. So they did nothing. That's a huge mistake. Listen, husbands and wives, moms and dads, think about it. If you died, how would your family pay the bills, the mortgage, the food? This is what life insurance is all about. And term life is the only way to go. It's not expensive and it's not complicated. Stop wasting money on cash value plans. You need 10 to 12 times your income in protection, and I recommend 15 or 20-year plans. I also only recommend Zander Insurance and have for almost 20 years. These are the people I use, and they only offer the plans I recommend. Call 800-356-1780 or visit Zander.com and compare online. It's just the smarter, more affordable way to buy insurance. That's 800-356-1780 or Zander.com.
In order to juggle the demands of work and home, I have to get a great night's sleep. Hey, Rachel Cruz here, and that's why I'm a huge fan of Tuft & Needle. You can get the best sleep of your life on a Tuft & Needle mattress. Tuft & Needle makes quality, affordable mattresses starting as low as $3.99. And for the warmer weather, nothing beats Tuft & Needle's Mint mattress, complete with cooling gel and graphite to keep the air circulating and your sleep from becoming a hot mess. Try it for 100 nights risk-free at tn.com. And remember, it ships for free.
You know what's stupid? Dying without a will. Go to MamaBearLegalForms.com. Our friends at Mama Bear make it incredibly simple to get a state-specific will, healthcare power of attorney, and finance power of attorney. Everything you need to protect your family. And here's the deal. Use the promo code RAMSEY and you get 20% off. Get your complete will package at MamaBearLegalForms.com. Use the promo code RAMSEY at checkout for 20% off.
Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson. The Iowa Racing and Gaming Commission approved sports betting rules today at the meeting in West Des Moines. Commission Administrator Brian Arilko says casinos can begin offering sports betting at noon on August 15th if they have all the paperwork complete. Cedar Valley Crime Stoppers says $50,000 now available for information on the kidnapping and killings of 8-year-old Elizabeth Collins and 10-year-old Lyric Cook Morrissey. The Evansdale cousins disappeared while riding their bikes on July 13th of 2012. Governor Kim Reynolds talked again today about her decision to ask the director of the Department of Human Services to resign last month. Jerry Foxhoven says he was asked to leave after raising concerns about having agency money pay the salary of a staffer in the governor's office. Reynolds disputes that.
I want to be clear, he never raised any concerns to me or my office about anything.
Reynolds says the practice of financing governor staff salaries with funds legislators set aside from state agencies dates back to the 70s when Robert Ray was governor. Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Thanks for joining us, America. We're glad you're here. Open phones at 888-825-5225. Alex is on the line in California. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show, Alex.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for taking the call.
Certainly. How can I help?
So I've been pretty lucky. I make a pretty good wage as an engineer, and I got some inheritance within the last few years. It's been coming in from different estate sales. And I've been getting serious with my girlfriend, but my girlfriend is in a lot of debt. So she's got about $100,000 in student loan debt from private university in a field that doesn't really pay well.
What's her field?
And arts.
Okay.
Fine arts.
So she spent $100,000 to get a degree in art from a private university.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else?
And she's got some other debts, and right now she's unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's been paralyzed by the debt, and I've just been listening to stories from different callers, and I just hear the echo from that, you know.
Okay. So you feel like her hope is gone, and like there's no sense in walking because I can't climb Everest.
Right. Yeah.
You don't think she's lazy?
I mean, I hope not. She has worked since I've been dating her. I've been dating for like 4 years, and I'm 28 now. And we're kind of getting to that point where things are either going to get more serious or, less serious, I guess. So I don't know. I just kind of looking at advice in that range.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I would just have a loving conversation with her. It sounds like y'all are pretty serious, and just go, hey, I'm worried about you. Wait a minute, listen, you're bright. You've got all this potential, and you seem to have been paralyzed by this debt and doing nothing about it. And it's not going to fix itself. If your career is not what you thought it was going to be, then I'll walk with you. We'll coach you. I'll be your biggest cheerleader on getting a different career. But doing nothing is probably not a plan.
Yeah.
Can you not have that conversation?
Yeah, I have. And it's, it is a hard conversation, and she's very upset about it. And I think that's, to me, is what shows that she does care. And it's such like a hard topic to talk about because it's so emotional.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you just got to do something about it. I mean, she has to do something about it. And so, there is more anxiety, more stress in feeling stuck and sitting than there is in being overwhelmed while you're running. And so we find people that their anxiety goes down, that it helps people that are struggling with depression when they go to work. Even if it's just if it's not something emotionally you feel like doing, but just as an act of will, as an act of personal strength, intestinal fortitude, I get up and I drag my butt out to the car, I start the car, and I go to work. And there's something about that is helpful to the human psyche, even if it's not making a big dent today. You're at least in action, you're in motion, and you're heading in the right direction. Sitting, it's like you're paralyzed, a deer in the headlights, sitting in the road waiting to be run over by an 18-wheeler is not a good plan. And so I'm going to, if I'm in your shoes, my son is actually about your age. Okay. If he and I were sitting on the back porch having this exact conversation, my advice to him, father to son, would be, you lovingly have to help her solve this, because not solving it is a deal breaker for the relationship. You told me that earlier. You just didn't use those exact words, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm just making you say that out loud to yourself, and you don't have to threaten her. That's not the spirit. I want you to have a spirit of help, and you want to help her. And be kind, but it's a kind act to help her get off the couch. Yeah. And baby doll, you've got to go do something. You're not going to make